Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Scribbles. Happy birthday to you.
Hi, Scribe.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of TEDXcellence, the show in which we watch things to learn stuff and enjoy our thinking skills. At least that's the idea. And I come to you live from Crater Valley on the moon with Dog Cat Fox, a Pepperjack, and joining me this evening is Chris Brawley, the chief potentate with the silky smooth pate of the Bleeding Fool, your source for opinionated commentary on film, TV, comics, and geek culture. Check out bleedingfool.com. Link is in the description. Good evening, Chris Brawley.
Hello, Scribe. So glad to be here. What a fantastic setup you have.
I'm very happy to have you here, Chris. Chris, for you guys that don't know, is a fellow panelist with me on Midnight's Edge in the morning, at least 3 times a week or thereabouts as schedules permit, and is a professional comic book nerd.
Absolutely.
And the other day
I wish we paid better.
Yeah, if only. Yeah. I have my own stories about trying to make money with comic books, and they not very happy. The other day on Midnight's Edge in the morning, we were talking about Ironheart, the upcoming offering from Disney Plus. And Ironheart is a character that originated in Marvel Comics at the worst time, let's say, in Marvel Comics recent history, when the wokosphere really erupted over there back in 2016, thereabouts. And in the course of that conversation, Chris mentioned Sana Amanat, who is a figure of some, let's just say ill repute amongst us OG comic book fans for Marvel Comics, who helped usher in that poisonous era over at Marvel. Yes. And strangely enough, she gave a TEDx talk back in 2014 on this very subject, just at the beginning of her rise at Marvel. And so I thought tonight on my birthday stream, we would start out with that one, and I'd have a resident expert on to join me in that. And thankfully, Chris has taken the time generously to join me for that. And so we'll cover that momentarily. But first, who's joining us on this beautiful Thursday evening for this birthday stream? The Alexander, good evening. Dr. Functional, hello. Advocatus Diaboli, hello. Walter Tomaszewski, good evening. Josh Hammond, hello. Keeverdam, hello. And also, you might have heard Keeverdam's lovely singing voice there in the intro. I worked it in to make sure that her efforts were did not go unrecognized. That's what I meant to say. So good evening, Keeverdam. And also Derek LaRue, holy cats. Thank you, Derek. That is ridiculously generous of you. Thank you so much for your continued support and generosity. I am without words. So thank you so much, Derek.
We're also speaking that, right? I'm just kidding.
If by splitting you mean, yeah. Anyway, speaking of generosity, guys, at the top of the chat box, there's a link up there to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society donation page. Please take a look at that when you have the opportunity. If you can donate, please do so. But even if you can't, if you can share that out on social media, that would be appreciated. Just in reference, I spoke to my father today. He was at the hospital or the clinic or whatever getting his regular platelet infusion. As you know, my father is currently recovering, such as it is, or presumably in remission from leukemia. And it was one of those sort of perspective clarifying conversations where you're talking to somebody who is now hit 80 years old, has been through so much, raised 2 perfect children, me being one of them, a marriage of over 50 years and more. And he was as talkative and chipper as you could imagine for somebody who was also gallows humoring his way through the fact that you don't need to be planning on buying me any Christmas presents this year. I'm like, okay, thanks, Dad. So, oof. And on the advent of my birthday, put things into perspective. At the same time, though, So I'll get all the maudlin stuff out of the way at the beginning and move on. What an introduction for Jen T. Maxey, our friend from the Great White North. Hello, Jen. Blue-Eyed Scream, hello. Toot Sweet, good evening. Mike Savage, Blard. Kiro Soldier, hello. The Best Remy, hello. Mr. Andy Masterson, guys. Andy, the Toy Master Masterson, is here. If you don't know about Andy Masterson, go check out his YouTube channel over on the YouTubes. Also, you can find him on Doomcock Show on a regular basis. So, and also on here occasionally for like my Saturday streams and such. So go check out Andy. Nice to see you, Angie. Hope you're having a good evening. Anybody else? Oh, Miranda Stone is here. Guys, I don't know if you know about Miranda Stone, but let me tell you a little bit about Miranda Stone. Mike R. is here. Spoonie the Rebel, hello. Shady Grin, hello. Vader35, good evening. Simon Willikins, hello. Fostonia, my friend from, our fellow agenda-free TV traveler. The Luke Skywalker 2, hello. Who else is here? Devil Fruit Zero, oh my gosh, so many people, so many people. Devil Fruit Zero, thank you so much. Woo, Scribe Dad recovered, nice, happy birthday too. Yes, he is in remission from leukemia. Thankfully. But at the same time, you know, it's like he's 80 years old. He's got a whole bunch of other problems too. So it's a good thing, but you know,
yeah, it's a nice thing for today.
It's a nice thing to have. Gulf City, Peterbilt Confederacy 379. Good evening, Keeverdam. Thank you so much, Keeverdam. Today is my aunt's birthday too. Your aunt. Well, what about your Weevil? Well, thank you, Keeverdam. Thank you so much, and thank you for all your help always as the den mother of the chat, guys. If you haven't already thanked Keeverdam for her constant efforts on behalf of the show, do so now. Thank you so much. Keldrig, hello. Kirill Soldier, thank you so much. Happy birthday, Scribe. May we be blessed with more. Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. And anybody I missed, anybody lurking, anybody in the future, good evening. All right, so guys, tonight, special night, we're going to look at a TEDx from 2014, sort of inspired by current events in the Marvel Universe world. Tonight's bingo card is bingo card B. B is in birthday. That's good enough for me. So get your bingo cards ready. Links are in the description below. I'm going to start. This one clocks in at just over 16 minutes, so let's get moving. Chris, I wish you luck in your introductory adventure into the wonderful world of TEDx. Hopefully you'll survive.
I've heard good things.
And I'll turn down the music just a smidge, or just off it all.
I'm looking forward to the pageantry of the mundane.
That's right, and all the retrospective insight we get about what has happened to Marvel
Comics. This is 11 years. Yeah, this is going to be a nice retrospective.
Yeah,
Marvel. Yeah.
So everybody, this is at least in part some of the mentality that was fueling Marvel Comics and, by extension, the MCU in recent years.
Yes. May I say one more thing?
Of course.
This was a year, I think, a year before, maybe 2 years before. Riri Williams reared her iron head.
Yes.
In the comics. 2016, I think, is when that came along. So this is where she was. I know she started out as an editor around 2009 with Marvel, if I'm accurate, and came to C.B. Cebulski's defense in 2017, which I think, hey, someone's trying to bother me. I'm sorry. I think helped propel her career after that unexpected defense of CB. So,
yeah, and this is just the year of the first real appearance of Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, her own creation.
Yes.
So we'll get the full-throated support and insight into her thinking, and also get your bingo cards ready, guys, because given the age of this one and the mentality of our speaker, at least as is purported, we might have quite a few bingos to go through. So with that, let us begin.
Now, I'm actually going to do something.
You're going to do something? Oh my gosh, how impressive. Guys, you hear that in the chat okay? Let me know with the sound check. You hear that okay, Chris?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so she's going to do something, guys. I can't believe it.
That you guys do every single day. I'm going to ask you guys to judge me, right?
That's easy. I'm happy to oblige.
I'm raising my hand.
Yes.
The Bumbies were just doing. It's very appropriate. Take a good look and describe me in your head.
Oh, are we already going into identity politics?
I was going to say female. Does that count?
What is a female?
Well,
now, based on those descriptions, how would you categorize me?
See, and this is the thing. I don't know. See, if you just out of nowhere, if she came off the street and just said, "How do you categorize me?" I'd be like, yeah, like you say, female, dark hair. I mean, wearing a Spider-Man top is a plus for me. At least it gives me some idea. But
it's a cool top. I would say that.
But categorize somebody. Yeah, this is the question of evaluating someone on the basis of their aesthetics
I remember
outside
she
it.
did qualify it and say, we do it every day.
Well, it's true. I mean, you could just, by the way, guys, we're all guilty.
It's
Before we even-
situational awareness is what I call it.
Yeah.
By my height? By my skin color?
No,
By my hair?
maybe.
Now, would any of those descriptions scream comic book editor?
Well, you see, here's the thing. Unless you've got a sign around your neck, I don't assume to know anything about you short of what I can assess from your sort of style of dress and how you take care of yourself. Like if I see somebody walking down the street and they've got like Cheeto puff stains all over their shirt and they're not taking care of themselves, they're all slobby and all unkempt, I make an assessment of how much that person cares about their personal appearance in public. But that person could be a Microsoft zillionaire for all I know, or a sewage worker. It doesn't. I don't make assessments like that, but I don't know about you.
I think just the expression she has on her face, it almost seems like she has a little bit of a chip on her shoulder. I mean, she's cute.
Just a smidge.
Just a smidge. Just a
Maybe
very
my-
light. Yeah, okay. Now she's gonna
T-shirt,
prove
actually. I
the
think that
wrong
might have
side.
given it away. But no, probably not. I'm actually one of the few South Asian female comic book editors out there. I think actually I might be the only one.
And that means what? Seriously, the South Asian female comic book editor. That tells me, like, it's just like I've used this comparison many times before. If I said bearded male who is a carpenter, am I talking about Jesus Christ or am I talking about serial killer Israel Keys?
Or the guy.
These elements say nothing about who you are or what you do. They are just surface level elements. Holy cats, Keldrig, thank you so much.
Whoa.
Happy spawning day. That's very generous. Thank you, Keldrig, so much. And JB, this lady could be a pilot and I'd have no idea. Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
She was born in New Jersey, by the way. I don't know why she says South Asian.
Oh my gosh, that's only 2 steps higher than, say, Detroit. Ugh.
So for any of you South Asian females interested, it's a good gig. I highly recommend it. Holler, my ladies. No? All right, that's cool. Now, what I do as a comic book editor is I make things up. I work with creators to tell the most uncanny, amazing, sensational stories about seemingly ordinary individuals.
Sensational, uncanny, amazing. Gosh, those are all key. I feel like a little dog whistle to my childhood of my love for comic books.
She's saying all the right things.
She is, yeah.
Who come to possess extraordinary identities.
Powers. Identities? Well, I guess it depends on how you
Well, maybe
interpret
she's
that.
talking about alliterative names. Peter Parker,
Yeah.
Clark Kent, who knows?
True.
We call them superheroes. Now, when I was first asked to speak
that
at
in
this
the middle?
event,
Gosh, that looks
The one
like
she created. That's it.
yeah, the self-insert. By the way, guys, Kamala Khan is most certainly Sana Amanat in comic book form.
That's right.
But let's see what we got there. We got the X-Men. We have Miss Marvel. We have that looks like the New Warriors,
Yep.
and then Nova
Nova.
all by himself, even though he's in 2 different pictures.
I've
But,
always liked the design of the Nova Corps suits. I really wish the MCU had gone towards the Annihilation direction. Maybe they will if they ever get their act together, but I don't think.
well, they just announced, or at least the rumor just came out that they're thinking about making an Annihilator series
Series on Disney Plus.
or something. I don't know.
I don't
But
know.
every time I hear a rumor, I did see. Did you see the leaked photos of Mephisto from Ironheart?
Yes, you shared those.
Yeah. Oh man.
Looks a lot
Anyway,
like the video game. What did Mephisto just appear in? It's a game I don't play, but kids everywhere.
the
Fortnite.
the Fortnite-ish kind of Marvel Rivals.
No, it was in Fortnite too. You could
Was it
sell
in
your
Fortnite?
soul.
Oh.
Yeah, there was a scene where you could sell your soul, which I thought that's great for the kids.
Yeah, selling souls great.
it was actually after the announcement of a character I had co-created.
Uh-huh.
Ms. Marvel, the all-new Ms. Marvel, was the first Muslim American superhero to have her
Pause
own
it.
series.
Please pause.
Yes, sir.
I just want to see these quotes.
Yes.
The shill quotes. Comics Alliance, which really, Comics Alliance is like patient zero of the woke. If
This
we're-
may be the most important comic published in 2014.
Oh my gosh.
Relatable, no matter who you are. Crave Online. Dynamic partnership between artist and writer. IGN. Miss Marvel is one of the strongest debuts for a new character. Newsarama.
Two Newsarama quotes, no less.
Two Oh, yeah, that's right. Exciting, accessible, charming, and engaging.
Now, wait a second.
Take that, stereotypes, says Boston Globe.
Have you ever wanted that to be your Spider-Man comic? This was exciting, yes. Accessible, charming, and engaging? I don't know. Yeah. But look, right in the middle, right in the heart of Kamala Khan, Mary Sue. We're very excited. We're very excited. Yes, they are.
Yeah, and as we know, prior to 2014, Marvel Comics never challenged any stereotypes in any of its characters prior to this. Whether it was Black Panther or Silhouette or North Star. And if you know what I'm talking about when I say those names, you know what I mean. But
we could go on and on and on and on. Goliath, Luke Cage. I mean, come on.
Yes. And just the idea that like, oh, well now, because, she's the first Muslim American superhero. Like, if you say so. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there was. Yeah. Did
we make a big deal when Banshee was the first Irish superhero, or was he Scottish? Who cares?
Or Shadowcat was like Jewish. That was a big deal.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah. Oh, another first.
Yeah.
Wonderful. It really was the most obvious thing in the world in my mind. I had created a character that I could identify with.
Gee, I wonder why that is. Self-insert.
And yet, it was quite possibly the biggest publicity hit Marvel had seen in quite some time.
Well, boy, you don't break your arm patting yourself on the back or nothing.
Well, she does that throughout, and I'm wondering. So, do you think she has this on when you do these TED Talks? You're the expert here.
Oh boy,
do they have like the little presidential prompters, or do you think she's memorized this, or has some?
It really depends on the event. Sometimes they will have the script like in little teleprompters at the stage.
Okay.
Sometimes you'll see speakers with actual like note cards as they go through, and they're doing it from memory. In this case, I can't tell without better citing on it, but I'm assuming she probably has it written down.
I think she probably just has it memorized, but not very well. And I keep hearing I, me, I. And
yes.
I might be sort of self-centered. If I was asked to give a TED Talk, I'd probably be quite flattered, just like I was flattered to be invited on the show tonight. I'm just giving her the benefit of the doubt.
For the sake of reference here, let's go over the bingo card real quick and just remind ourselves what we're listening for, see if anything so far has tripped a wire.
Definitely not self-vilification. None of that.
No. So we got marginalization, not yet. Self-vilification or wretchedness, I would be amazed. Contradicts own point or fails to make argument, don't know what our argument is yet. Feminism, I would be amazed if we don't get there. Microaggressions or unconscious bias, possibly. Privilege, maybe. Benevolent condescension, we might already be there, but we'll give it a minute. Weightless example or non sequitur. Plays victim, possibly. Collectivizes own demographic. I'm going to circle that one as
I think she's done that, yes.
Yeah. First Muslim, American, this, that, the other, or I look like this.
South Asian.
South Asian, pardon me. Economic disparity, we'll see. Deceptive statistics. We have to have statistics, and we have to deem them deceptive. Attempt to coin new buzzword or buzz phrase. Now, I will give credit for the fact that this is taking place in 2014. So if she says something that would have been unknown back then maybe, but that might be a tough one to weigh. A list, and that's when we're looking for a formal list, like here's 3 steps to get to this or that kind of thing. Mind reading assumes motives. We'll see about that one if she talks about industry trends and such. Patriarchy, anecdote that probably never happened. Diversity, equity, and or inclusion. Some themes there. It wasn't the term DEI. Well, it wasn't really used that much back in 2014. You didn't really see DEI show up until about 2016, 2017. But still, white supremacy, we'll see. Childhood or family anecdote, possibly. It's coming. Systemic or institutional. Leaves out vital context. Sales pitch for product or service. I think that is inherent to the fact that she's talking about her own comic book and Marvel Comics, a circle in that one. And lastly, word salad. Not as of yet, but we might get there. So
question for the judges. Has diversity, equity, inclusion, did it predate the intersectionality? Which came first?
Well, so originally it was just referred to as diversity. Then it became diversity ampersand inclusion, the D and I. They added the E roundabouts 2016, 2017-ish.
Okay.
And that became the mainstay for the longest time until they added JEDI for Jedi. Then that became too corporate, so they changed that to be back to DEI. Then it was DEIB for belonging. Sometimes it was DEIA for accessibility. So it's been all over the place.
Jeez.
But intersectionality, I can say with certainty that intersectionality was being talked about before DEI was a buzzword.
Okay.
So far on the board, guys, we have collectivize his own demographic, free space because it's free, and sales pitch for product or service. Keep your ears open for other things. If you see something, say something, and if not, we will review it at the end of the talk. Okay.
Parents called us thanking us for creating a book that they could finally share with their daughter.
I don't believe you.
there
Anecdote that
it is.
probably never happened. I doubt
Agreed.
it. I doubt it.
Fans called us thanking us for creating a character that they could finally relate to.
Because in the pantheon of Marvel Comics, there is no one that any child could possibly have related to prior to Miss Marvel, everyone. Just so you know. Good gravy.
I was relating to Luke Cage. I was relating to Shang-Chi. Come on.
I can't turn into a giant green monster, and somehow I related to the Hulk. A little kid.
Clearly
Jeez.
tapped into something really powerful, something people had been craving for quite some time.
Yet you were the water in the desert, Sana. Oh my gosh.
And yet it was the simplest idea, just masked as the craziest.
Yeah, everybody else was stupid before I came along.
Now, to understand the origins of Ms. Marvel, we have to take a trip
Okay.
to a land far, far away.
Hey, New Jersey.
A long, long time ago, where a young girl with a cowlick and bad taste in clothes never felt like she could fit in.
All right, childhood or family anecdote, circling that one on the board. Where did I put that? There you are. All right, we'll see if we'll get a bingo here, guys. Oh my gosh, we're moving along.
She didn't look like the other girls in her class, couldn't eat the delicious, delicious BLTs that they could eat. She began to become fascinated with bacon. What is that delicious meat? She had no idea. Her parents weren't on the PTA. She didn't get Christmas presents.
I know a lot of kids that didn't get Christmas presents. Can you guess why?
They're Jewish.
Yeah. I know, it's crazy.
And in fact, she had to wear a T-shirt over her bathing suit every single time she swam.
Oh my
So
gosh.
clearly this girl was different. But she did have an outlet. And it wasn't her parents, who she adored, who just didn't quite understand her yet, or her 3 older brothers, who were too busy with hair gel and lightsabers to pay any attention to her.
Lightsabers. Oh my gosh.
Can I ask a question too? Has she actually said that she's Muslim?
Well, has she said so? No, she's mentioned
in this talk.
not as of yet. She mentioned the character is.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Is there someone in the audience going, "What's wrong with bacon?" Like, in other words, it's like we're just supposed to know. Maybe it was on the postcard or something, or the poster. I don't know, but
It's true. Yeah.
and she also is like, I've noticed Marvel really likes to talk about Miss Marvel being the first Muslim superhero, right? I mean, you hear that. But I know Simon Baz over at DC Comics was Green Lantern. That's 2012. That's a few years prior. I mean, there's other examples that I know of. Like there was even a chick in the what was the Generation X, late 90s, mid 90s or whatever. There was a character named M or Monet or whatever. She was a Muslim. So, and that was a female Muslim hero.
Well, here's the thing, Chris. The thing you're forgetting, and I mean this almost slightly facetiously, but not, is that it's all about the progressive stack. It's not the one element. It is the combination of individual elements that make you unique as compared to anybody else. So Miss Marvel is the first female South Asian Muslim superhero.
I got it.
So if you had a Muslim superhero previously, well, that's not nearly as unique and oppressed as a female South Asian Muslim superhero.
Oh, got it.
The more qualifiers you give, the more unique you are. This is why DEI went from D to D and I to DEI to DEIB to DEIBA, etc. It becomes more special the more you add things on.
Plus at the end eventually, right?
Eventually. Yeah, I mean, it saves some time. And
I just got a correction here from Time Magazine. They mention, even though, it's a different character, a character named Dust that was in the new X-Men in 2002. But the problem with Dust, she was criticized for being Orientalist and lacking depth.
At Marvel Comics?
That's what I thought.
Lacking depth? I mean, when you tell us that the only significant thing about this person is the religion they have, rather than their values or their actions or their character traits. By the way, guys, I don't know if you know this, but simply saying fill in blank with religion is not a character trait. There are plenty of people on death row.
That's right.
Who would claim to be very religious. It doesn't necessarily, it's all about what you do, not what you say you are.
It was something else altogether different. It was the X-Men.
The X-Men.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, queen. Yeah, look at all these characters that I had absolutely nothing to do with and I already shit all over because my character's so much better than them and it was just a simple thing that I came up with, guys.
Are you familiar with the current trend going on right now at Marvel where she has been retconned back into the origins of the X-Men 94 issue and the giant size X-Men? Kamala Khan has been. Matter of fact,
you know what?
Takes over the Phoenix role in this.
I think I heard that, and my first thought was when they took America Chavez and had her be the one to punch Hitler instead of Captain America. That's time travel thing.
They just keep doing this at Marvel, and they keep wondering, or CB Cebulski keeps wondering why the sales are dipping. It's this. You just reminded me of something. Part of the whole reason why I started Bleeding Fool, if you'll indulge me for a moment,
of course.
Was because I used to go to Bleeding Kewl, right? Which is a UK website, a bit of a muckraking, but very comics focused. And so I don't know what comic they were talking about at the time. I think it was something from a guy named Joe Glass. And he was promoting the comic because it was inclusive and diverse. And I posted in the comments section, this predates Bleeding Fool by about 2 months. And I said, isn't it crazy how Giant Size X-Men #1 didn't need to promote itself as diverse and inclusive. Right. It was just a fun adventure and it kicked ass and everybody loved it. And it was a phenomenon. And I got shadow banned for that.
Of course. I
didn't realize I'd been shadow banned. To keep a long story short, I eventually discovered that I had been. And I thought, it's not that hard to start a website. It's really not. And that's what I did. And I decided to kind of poke fun at them, and all because of Giant Size X-Men #1. Amazing.
Yeah, and in Giant Size X-Men #1, you had those little vignettes where they're going around recruiting each member, and you saw them in their culturally significant background or anything, but they didn't make a big deal of the fact that they were this thing.
Right.
They were this person in the scenario, and more than anything else, it showcased what their skills were. You got to see what their powers were, separate from their cultural or ethnic heritage.
Well, not only that, they weren't promoting it as, look at how culturally significant this comic is. Look at all these first ever superhero that has this identity. No one. Yeah. It was just, is it a cool, really, let's get real. When we look at these superheroes, does the costume look cool? Is it a cool name? And do they have a cool power set? And do I like the character after I see them interact with the others? That's it. That's all we care about. We don't care about what color their skin is. We don't care what their origin is, although their origin story, how they got their powers, is cool. But you didn't really get that in the X-Men because you were just sort of born that way.
Right.
And I think that people like Sana Amanat sort of glommed onto this, thing that it did represent sort of this other, right? Because the X-Men weren't embraced and they were different from other people, and they were even kind of different from the mainline superheroes. So that's why, so I understand her liking the characters. I'm just lamenting the fact that now the marketing on the front of the comic is no longer new, exciting team or whatever. It's more about it being diverse and inclusive.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it when I was a kid because I was used to seeing a collection of just people who just happen to look different working together. G.I. Joe, Star Trek, X-Men. It wasn't like they're different origin stories or where they came from culturally or whatever. To me, at that point, it just meant different accents more than anything else.
Was anyone bothered by the fact that Geordi was black in Star Trek: The Next Generation?
And blind? It's like, okay, like who cares? It didn't mean anything.
What are you, an ableist? Come on. I mean,
yeah. And besides which, and when it came to like the X-Men and a lot of superheroes, how they got their powers was always less relevant than what they did with them and the values they had in coming to know them. So like for the X-Men, it was always like, okay, well, Magneto had a particular perspective on the world because of his personal backstory, regardless of his powers, and how he chose to use them as compared to Professor X. It was all a morality play. It wasn't about the aesthetic. Again, it comes down to who the character is, not what the character is.
Sure.
But anyway.
I mean, of course, if they had a power set that was off-putting, you might be like, it might be well written and you might like them. Or if you didn't like their design. For me, I'm much more visual in a lot of ways. I'm driven by the art. That's why I like the comics.
Sure.
But, Wolverine was cool. He was tough. We didn't even need a backstory on him.
No. But, except for the fact that he was just an evolved Wolverine.
That's right.
That was the original idea.
All right, thanks for indulging me there. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's fine.
The X-Men were mutants, individuals with mutated and enhanced genes that triggered at adolescence, giving them superpowers.
Right.
It was the coolest thing in the world. A woman with brown skin and white hair who could manipulate the weather.
Wait, stop.
Now, the white hair I did think was cool, particularly the Mohawk era. I don't think I was even noted that she was black. However, hearing this, I've got white male privilege, I understand. So I didn't grow up amongst a group of people that didn't look like me, right? Like a lot of the folks around me were white.
Sure.
I've obviously got friends of different cultures, different religions, different backgrounds, different heritages, but the bulk was white, right? And so you mentioned Magneto a moment ago because he sort of had his own perspective from his past. Maybe she has that, and so that is something that she notices. But I think what we're trying to get at is it shouldn't be what you notice, because I also don't look at characters and go, oh, they're white. Like I don't clock either skin tone. Now, maybe growing up, Sana in her family or whatever, maybe they did make a big deal about people's heritage or their skin color. I don't know.
So nurture versus nature here.
Maybe.
Yeah.
A gigantic beast of a man with blue fur. A shy girl with a southern drawl.
But you don't mention her skin color. See, this is the thing that I was noticing is like she's talking about these characters and their unique elements, and yet she can control the weather came third compared to her hair color and her skin color. Beast, blue fur, sure, that's not a superpower, but he's also big brawny thing, like sure. And then Rogue, who's just a shy girl
who couldn't touch anyone. So these people were that little girl's safe place. These people she understood because they too were different. And it also helped that they also wore ridiculous looking outfits.
Hey, Wolverine's outfit was always awesome, except for maybe that first appearance.
I don't know, Mom. I have no idea what you were doing in that picture. I apologize. So the X-Men embraced who they are. Adamantium claws, weird weather controlling habits, mutations. They owned it. They knew who they were, and they would defend it.
Wolverine has no idea who he is. To this day, they have rewritten him so many times. I gotta tell you. But that's I'm just being a nerd, pardon me.
No matter what. So every Saturday morning, when this little girl used to rush down the stairs to watch that show, she felt a little less alone because they had fulfilled a need to see herself in the world outside. So let's talk about why that need existed in the first place. Now,
Because every teenager feels that at some point or another when you're growing into your body and finding your place in the world. I mean, it's not like a universal constant in human experience or anything. But okay, you've got yours. Everybody's got theirs. All right, tell us what you got to say.
now remember what I was asking you guys earlier about categories. Why don't you guys think about the categories that you all belong to?
The categories. I don't categorize myself. I'm me. If somebody wants to put labels on me, go ahead. If you want me to quantify my political beliefs or something, I guess I could try. But at the end of the day, ask me a specific question about something and I'll give you an honest answer. That's about the most I can do.
But isn't the last thing you would say white? I mean, it doesn't even occur to me. You know what I'm saying?
It means nothing.
Is that my privilege that my skin color doesn't occur to me? Good grief.
Yeah, like demonstrably non-determinative elements of my makeup. It doesn't mean nothing.
Yeah,
it's like I said before.
I can shave my head to make my head bald. That
right.
I can affect, right?
Right, but like I said before, a bearded guy who's a carpenter. It doesn't say anything about who you are. It just says something element about what you might be.
I'm going to do that up here for myself.
Okay.
So I am
a
Muslim.
Okay, now, guys in the audience, as I've said before, take stock of each of these terms that she's using so far and tell me, if you can, what that tells you about her as a person. Muslim woman.
A woman, an American, a comic book editor,
Uh-huh.
a short person, a lazy person, a nerd.
Okay, now, lazy person is the first element she has listed that says something about her character and or behavior, even if it is being self-effacing and facetious.
Is that benevolent condescension or no?
It might be self-vilification or wretchedness.
Okay.
But only in the most mild sense.
Oh, sure.
So let's give her a bit more room here and see what she has to say.
You can ignore that, though. Now, the strange thing about defining yourself in this way is that it simplifies who you are.
Yes. You might almost say it oversimplifies what you are. None of that says anything about who you are except for that one thing, maybe, sort of.
How can everything that I am be encompassed into a label?
It's not. You're going to follow this up by saying it's not, correct?
Now, some of these labels we choose for ourselves, others we're born into, and others are assigned for us. But regardless, all of them come with preconceived notions, assumptions, and expectations of what they mean.
Okay, so I'm going to put on mind reading assumes motives now because she is assuming that I, just as the abstract other person, has an assumption of something about her based on each of those labels. Like, there's already an expectation of what that means to be Muslim. Well, maybe. I've seen some hardcore Muslims. I've seen some very lapsed Muslims. It doesn't mean anything to say I'm Muslim because the same thing as saying I'm Christian. That could mean a zillion things. I'm a woman, and
and let me just interrupt you there. I agree with you that is a mind reading assumes motives. If the first thing I say about myself is I am this religious faith, then typically, I'm a Christian, but I don't typically say the first thing you need to know about me is I'm a Christian, right? Maybe I should be a better Christian. But the fact that she leads with that makes me wonder, is she really following all the tenets of her faith? And if not, why is that what she leads with unless she is doing the stack like you talked about?
Yeah, no, this is the progressive stack. These are all of the elements that I can condense myself into, and these are also the sources of my both oppression and power, depending on the circumstances. She's talking about what people assume or would judge her to be based on these elements. So already she's setting up a victim narrative.
Yep.
In that case, I'm also going to circle play as victim because that's setting that up.
Oh, we can do it before she actually does it?
I mean, if there's enough sort of an aggregate preponderance of the evidence, then yeah, sure.
I
It's
like
true.
that.
I mean,
term. Okay.
if I'm correct, here's the thing that I don't mention enough. If something happens in the course of a talk, or someone in the chat or elsewise has a argument against a circle that's already been made, I'm also open to that because I can always jump the gun or make a wrong assumption as well.
So if I am Muslim, people may expect that I cover my head, that I don't associate with men, that I don't drink alcohol.
Well, if you're being a Orthodox
Faithful?
Muslim,
Yeah,
yes. I mean, again, like I say, just because someone says I am religion X, that really doesn't tell me anything because I've known plenty of people who say the exact same thing and they lead completely different lives and treat themselves and others completely differently based on how much or how little they adhere to the doctrine.
Yeah.
Others may assume that I'm a terrorist.
Oh, bro.
I'm not.
Are you not? Okay, if you say so.
That I hate Americans. Well, I'm an American, so I certainly don't hate myself.
Oh, sure, yeah.
She didn't mention that part. I didn't know she was American.
All right, so wait a second. If you're an American, you can't hate yourself and you can't hate America. I don't know. I've seen some students on campus recently who are actually citizens who don't seem to like the country they live in. And guess what? Because of the country you live in, you have every freedom to say you don't like the country you live in without being excoriated just for that opinion by law. You might be excoriated by other fellow Americans, but that's other thing.
Sometimes. I'm an oppressed woman. I'm way too stubborn for that.
You would not survive in an actual Orthodox Muslim society in that way. In that case, I hate to tell you this. I know it's a mean thing to say, but it's absolutely true.
You can ask my poor parents. They deal with it every day. Now, because we allow others to create these definitions for us, we inherently accept them to be true.
You do? Wait, you allow others to create these definitions for you, accept them to be true. Okay, well, again, we've already circled mind reading assumes motives.
Did she say she drinks, by the way?
Yeah, I don't know. She didn't say that was an untruth.
Kind of feels like she didn't really, I don't know.
All right, let's...
Because
Whether
I
or
know
not
that Muslim women aren't supposed to drink. Or Muslim men. I mean, as a matter of fact, Muslims, at least in Islam, they don't drink.
Not supposed to.
Okay.
Whether or not they are, and I think that's also true of like Orthodox Mormons as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think isn't alcohol and coffee or two things or not?
That's a good question.
This is me showing my my poverty of
I guess
intelligence on this.
the point I'm making is if you're not going to observe the tenets of your faith, why are you leading with your faith as a defining trait?
Like, what does that mean exactly? Yeah. If you've watered it down to the point where it's just
Your
like
personal thing.
a T-shirt you wear, you might as well just be. It doesn't mean anything. But
well, I mean, you can wear a Spider-Man shirt and not know who Peter Parker is, I guess.
Sure. And again, like I say, all of these terms are definitive of nothing. It all depends on the individual and how they behave, what their character is. The content of one's character, not the color of their skin or their stated faith or whatever else. But
inherently accept them to be true, whether or not it's a conscious decision or not. So at some point, the line between perspective and reality begins to blur.
Well, if you're going to project a definition of things that you've placed upon yourself and assume other people outside of you think those things of you without any evidence otherwise, then I guess you'll always be a victim. But JB, thank you so much. She could say she isn't devout. Why doesn't she? Well, it's just another way for her to say she's not devout.
Yeah.
Is that you might assume, like, well, I don't have to assume you don't cover your head because you're not covering your head. Right. I don't have to assume you're not wearing your bangles and stuff because you've got jewelry on and you're showing more skin than a Orthodox Muslim woman would. So I already know that you're not like really adhering to the doctrine as some would, but that's up to you. And I'm not saying you should, but what does it mean to say that you are? And what is that supposed to tell me about you? It doesn't tell me anything. And I don't assume you're a terrorist, for crying out loud. Jeez.
We are told by others constantly and incessantly who we are. When we allow others to define ourselves, whether it's the media, our parents, our friends, we begin to accept a standard of self that is not of our own choosing.
but it is your own choosing. You're making that choice. If someone calls you a name and you decide to internalize it, that was the decision point you made. You need to take responsibility for your own emotions. I am not responsible for your self-esteem at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. But anyway.
We become a splintered version of the person we are destined to be. I remember in junior high school, it was actually right after the first World Trade Center bombing.
So 93? Okay.
And it was a very confusing time for me for a bunch of reasons. But in particular, because it was the first time my religion was made synonymous with violence. And
oh, never mind the Crusades. I mean, whatever.
Well, yeah, lucky her that it hasn't been around for hundreds of years, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's not to forgive, any other, aside from maybe Jainists or something, name a religion that doesn't have some kind of violent tirade in its past or something. It's the first time my religion was ever associated with it. Give me a break. Come on.
in such a public way.
In such a, what? Oh yeah, because, the Middle East hasn't been a thing for the last, 1,000 years. But whatever, sure.
I'd walked into school the next morning, and a classmate who I'd never actually talked to before tapped me on the shoulder. Uh-huh. And he said, "Hey, tell your people to stop attacking us."
Oh my gosh.
I was confused.
Now, I've already circled anecdote that probably never happened, but kids are mean and stupid, so I could believe this one.
Maybe.
I could.
Hurt, stunned. Us? I thought I was us. I certainly wasn't them. Was I?
Oh my gosh.
That would be the first time that I saw the way the world viewed the category I belong to.
Okay. One kid says something. Okay.
Names like Muhammad, Ahmed, Sharif, names I had grown up with all of my life, were equated with terms like terrorist, hate monger, enemy.
Hate monger, Captain America fought him. Actually, my association of the name Sharif is he don't like it. Rock the Casbah, rock the Casbah. that was my first exposure to that's what I think of when I think of Sharif. Oh, and see, advocate and oh my god. Okay, so great minds think alike. Advocatus Diaboli, Sharif don't like it. It's true. Yep. It's true. Oh boy, I'm showing my age.
I was angry at those men who had warped my faith into a vengeful weapon.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
And at the same time, at the media for propagating those stereotypes. Mm-hmm. I swung from self-defense to self-doubt, pride to shame.
Okay, I will say something real quick, an actual anecdote. There is something to the idea that the media can overreact and oversell something.
Sure.
I remember clear as a bell when the Oklahoma City bombing happened, and I was watching the news, and this was when the thing was still smoldering. The helicopter shots were over there, was live, and one of the news anchors said, it's entirely possible that this is Middle Eastern terrorism. And I remember so clearly the person sitting next to them or whatever, because you didn't see them, they were off camera, and the person said, we should probably wait for more information because thankfully that person knew. It's like, whoa, okay. This is you are jumping the gun. The media looking for a story, looking to hype things up to get viewers and such, or to try to sound smart, like they're insightful. Sure. They can jump to conclusions and make assumptions. That is absolutely true, and it certainly was true back in the 90s. But in the case of the World Trade Center, obviously it was right on the money, but anyway.
Who was I? What side was I on? Uh-huh. Where did I fit in?
I think you should have known that at that point, right? When the guy accused you of something you had nothing to do with. Isn't it terrible to be accused of something you're not guilty of?
I had no idea. Mm-hmm. For years, I had constantly measured myself against images that looked nothing like me. I didn't see myself in the TV, in the classroom, or in magazines. And suddenly, my face was everywhere.
No, it wasn't. If you're going to associate yourself with the most lowest common denominator elements of other people, and likewise think other people think that way too, There are words for that kind of thinking. I don't know if you know that.
With a big red X painted over it.
Ooh, like in Days of Future Past? That comic book cover? Anybody know?
Hello.
Why did I feel so uncertain and insecure about my identity?
Because you're a teenager?
I'm going to throw some social psychological jargon out at you to
Uh-oh.
make myself sound really smart.
Well, I appreciate the self-effacing.
There's something called a stereotype threat, and what it says is that individuals of a particular group.
Demographic. It's rarely a group. It's probably just a demographic. These are two different things. I always get on that.
Internalize and react to the negative stereotypes associated with that group. So because I'm so afraid of everybody thinking that all those bad things that people say about me are true.
No, people didn't say anything about you. You decided to associate yourself with with people who were of a same stated religion, but not necessarily same interpretation thereof, and actions you had nothing to do with. Now, other people might hold you to account for that, which is unfair and unjust. That is true. But for you to do that is a choice of your own. So take responsibility for your own emotions.
The Westboro Baptist Church, and I go to a Baptist church, but they're nothing like what we practice. So it's like she could have been able to, I don't know how old she was at the time, I guess in grade school, probably didn't have much of a fight in her. Who knows?
Sometimes I don't act to the best of my abilities. I underperform, whether it's academically, socially. I was definitely an introvert for a reason.
Many kids are. Again, you're not describing anything that's unique unto yourself, but you're trying to associate it with some kind of quasi-internalized depression from other people's stereotypes you assume they have of you.
And basically what that means is that you act against your true nature because you're constantly trying to live up to other people's expectations or deny their assumptions.
I think that's called growing up and finding your place in the world, but what do I know?
I'm going to call it word salad.
Yeah, we're just on the edge of it.
We're getting very close.
Yeah, she did tell us ahead of time it was going to be a bunch of psychological jargon.
Who you truly are.
Who I truly am.
So.
Well, that's Miles Morales. I mean, you might think it's not. It's Miles Morales. Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
How do we deflect these threats? Yes, you're right, with more jargon.
Oh boy.
There's something called a mirror neuron theory.
Mirror neuron theory. Oh, okay. So I'm going to go back to 2014. So first and foremost, we're word salad. Circle on that one.
Yeah.
And I might be jumping the gun here, but I'm going to say attempt to coin new buzzword buzz phrase. Just a smidge. Just a smidge. I mean, at least for the sake of this talk, and certainly given the time period.
I like it.
What it means is that your brain neurons react in the same way whether or not you are the one doing the action. So if I'm watching you eat a really delicious cheeseburger, my brain is reacting in the same way as if I was eating that really delicious cheeseburger myself.
Because you're remembering things,
Which is why the Food Network is quite possibly the greatest programming of all time. Only show I watch. Now
There's
imagine
bacon
if
on
what...
there. Careful.
Yeah, be careful with that bacon.
Yeah.
What happens when you see bacon? What does your brain do then, I wonder?
We saw in the media reflected a positive portrayal of the group that we belong to.
Demographic.
How?
No, even Muslim is demographic because there's such a spectrum of what that means.
That's right.
A Sufi Muslim versus any other kind of Muslim.
Has she said she's marginalized yet? Is that also?
Yeah, no, I keep waiting for that, like marginalized community or something, but I'm not quite sure how in vogue that language was back in 2014. Okay. I started my channel in 2016, and I've seen the evolution of these terms and phrases and their promulgation over time. But prior to that, I'm a little bit in the dark.
How would our brains react? How would our perceptions change? That was the secret of the success of the show, The Cosby Show.
Oh, this aged like milk. Here, tell us about Bill Cosby.
The groundbreaking and intelligent sitcom that truly helped to adjust perceptions of African Americans. It was the first of its kind.
Sure.
Because Fat Albert didn't do that. I mean, Bill Cosby,
the Jeffersons.
Notwithstanding what he's gotten himself into in later years, the things he was up to. he was pudding pops. I mean, everybody loved Bill Cosby, right? He was the
Right.
black Tom Hanks, really, as far as anyone was concerned at the time. People just loved the show. I guess it gave people a different perspective. Is that what she's saying? I'm not sure. The Jeffersons had a success, like you said,
Sanford and Son.
businessman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dry cleaning business, I think.
Focusing on the comedic trials and tribulations of a successful and lovable family that just happened to be African American.
Yes,
Yeah, the
happened
Jeffersons
to
were
be.
not lovable, I don't think.
No, they weren't lovable at all. No,
Okay,
no. George Jefferson, not lovable. I mean, he was a bit irascible.
Funny.
Funny, yeah. So just happened to be. Okay, now I wish she would hold on to that element and focus on the individual character elements of people and not the aesthetics, but she still doesn't seem to have learned the lesson.
It took away those limiting qualifiers of race and helped to redefine what it meant to just be an American family. All through the power of story.
Yes, and characterization.
Now, while we look to the media to bring us the stark realities of humankind, we seek stories to find some emotional connectivity with it. Stories give us a glimpse into the inner workings of the human spirit.
I mean, if we're talking about comic books, I'm looking for adventure, fun,
Action,
etc.
Yeah.
I mean, if there are emotional notes in there, great. But I'm not going there to look for a Hallmark card. I'm looking for a comic book story, a superhero story.
Its pitfalls and its potentials.
Sure.
And they stir within us a desire to reach the excesses of our imagination.
Sure.
They challenge us and force us to look at one another for who we truly are.
I keep feeling like I'm being baited into agreeing with something.
I know, right? And this sounds like it probably looked good on paper, but being said out loud just sounds so pretentious.
Yeah, and especially, again, retrospectively, since we've seen where things have gone since then. Because if I was watching this back in 2014, it probably wouldn't have made the same impact, or I wouldn't have had the same sort of reactions.
In the hopes of possibly connecting our souls. And for that reason, they are sacred. And at the same time, they can be the shields against the threats to our soul, threats to our identity. So what the mirror neuron theory is saying is that it's human nature to follow the actions of the masses. We repeat and or believe what people tell us to believe.
Well, I guess it all depends. There's a whole lot of caveats to what she's saying here. And this is why I like the fact that I can pause this, because if I was watching this live, it would just kind of wash over me, and maybe I'd go like,
Yeah, right.
But
about others and about ourselves. So why not tell stories that are empowering and aspirational and challenge us to be better?
then why are you focusing on non-determinative elements of someone's makeup? You haven't told us a thing about what makes Kamala Khan other than her religion and her ethnicity and her gender. That's it. I mean, really, and even when you're talking about Storm and Beast and so on, you mentioned things about their surface level attributes, not about like whether Storm is a brave leader or that Beast is a scientific genius or that Rogue is a very practiced con artist. I mean, these things never came up. Alexander, thank you so much. Happy birthday. Thank you so much, Alexander. Appreciate it very much. Hope you're enjoying the show. Okay, let's keep going. We're almost done. Sure. That was an applause line? Okay.
That is exactly what superhero stories do.
Uh-huh.
The history of comics is about the misfit, the unlikely hero, the ability to create greatness where there was once doubt. The unassuming Peter Parker, the wallflower who's picked on and misunderstood.
Yes, the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell, we know. Or at least some of us nerds know.
Gets bitten by a radioactive spider that gives him extraordinary powers and extraordinary responsibilities. Yet his path is filled with villains who would doubt his determination, who would threaten those he loves, threaten his life choices. And yet Spider-Man, being the hero that he is, would always swing back. He'd always beat the bad guy, and he'd always get the girl.
No, actually, Peter Parker oftentimes, up until his most sustainable relationship with Mary Jane, oftentimes didn't get the girl because there was like relationship friction and real life things coming in.
And Marvel now won't even let Mary Jane and Peter Parker be together anymore.
Oh yeah, we have to introduce some side guy, and she has to have kids with him, and we have to keep like having Mephisto break them apart because we can't have Peter Parker be in a healthy heterosexual relationship or a successful one. He has to be lonely and dour and some kind of quasi incel all the time. Like,
even the editor publicly said, "Look, we're not going to get them back together, married again." And the comic they have, Ultimate Spider-Man, which is an alternative reality where he is married and has children with Mary Jane, currently outsells all the other Spider-Man titles. Yeah. So Marvel, with the mentality of these people, it's amazing that they even keep the lights on. I'm sure they're being subsidized by Disney.
And little trivia note, I'm sure Chris knows this, but in the audience, did you know that on the advent in the comic book continuity where Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson actually got married, they staged a live wedding ceremony with actors. I think it was like a baseball game or something. Yep.
Oh, it was huge.
To advertise that Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson were getting married. That's how big and important it was back in the day. Yep. And look at what time hath wrought.
That's right.
Or girls, in Spider-Man's case. Lots of love drama there.
Yeah, except again, he didn't and often didn't succeed because that was the trials and tribulations of being a nerdy teenager. But anyway.
For 75 years, Marvel has been telling the tale of the outcast behind the mask.
Why is that blacked out?
It's through his flaws and desires that we connect with the heart of the character, so that when he emerges as a hero, we have a real reason to champion him. Yeah. Because we understand those struggles too, don't we?
Yes, because they're fundamental and common amongst people just in general, whatever it is.
And we also want to move past them.
Uh-huh.
Heroes make a choice to fight injustice, to protect the innocent, to put the balance back on the side of the good.
Sure.
No matter how much they sacrifice of themselves, they're willing to die for it because they've chosen who they are. And they will defend it no matter what.
Whoa, what's going on with my video? Did that happen for you too, just then?
It did, yep.
Okay, I don't know what that was, guys.
It was creepy.
That might have been a processing error. Let me see. Just for my own edification. Sure. Am I roboting? Are you roboting? What's going on? Uh-oh. Chris, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, I'm getting paranoid here.
They will defend it no matter what. So when that little girl sat rapt to attention all those years ago at her television screen, watching the X-Men, it wasn't just because they had taken her on an astonishing adventure. It's because they told her that it was okay to be different.
Okay, now all this stuff sounds perfectly in line with something I might say when I was a kid and like reading Spider-Man and stuff. So you get some hints of social justice, identity politics, but also mixed in with some, genuine foundationary elements of just hero worship and, child's imagination stuff. So that's what also, and I know this is me being cynical, it also makes me feel how sinister this stuff is, that you weave in some elements of a message and of a changing of your mind towards something a bit more, let's say, culturally Marxist, while at the same time you've got some common elements to bring you into the argument as well. But maybe I'm just paranoid.
In fact, you had to fight for it. Because we all want to be heroes, don't we? And wouldn't it be amazing if heroes looked just like us?
I don't need a hero to look just like me. A hero is defined by their actions, not their appearance.
Well, wait a minute. Isn't Ironheart, doesn't she want to be iconic rather than heroic?
That is true.
In the trailer.
Yes. Yeah,
I feel like this is just all this, it's like the latest trend in business management that has just gone way too far, where somebody in the C-suite became convinced that the more we can bring in different backgrounds, we can tell more authentic stories that will resonate with a wider audience, right? We'll get a broader range of customer base because more consumers will feel represented, and it will strengthen the audience connection and expand our market reach. I think that's what they've been sold on. And then you have these acolytes and adherents that truly believe all of it, but the numbers tell a different story. When I posted just quickly in the comments a story from 2019 that I did about Sana Amanat at Bleeding Kewl. It's called "Why Vice President Sana Amanat Has No Business Being in Comics." And that's a quote from her. She said in an interview, she has no business being in comics. And it shows how Captain Marvel, so confusing, was outselling before she joined in 2008. She joined in 2009. Captain Marvel was selling, and it was being called Miss Marvel at the time, was selling like 40,000 a month, which isn't great numbers. But after she joined and took over, within a few years, it was selling like 12,000 a month.
Right.
40,000 to 12,000. And that is expanding your audience. I don't understand what's happened in these companies, but it feels like they were sold a bill of goods and they've just continued to double down. Like if they would just keep getting more diverse, if they would just be more inclusive, if we would just focus more on identity rather than just trying to entertain the readers that we have.
And she just kind of did it here, and this is what I'm talking about, weaving in these more sinister elements. She is glorifying narcissism.
Oh, for sure.
She's putting like, I have to see myself in this thing. And that, if you want to think about an idea that is actually the antithesis of inclusion and tolerance and diversity, it's requiring that you have some visible direct connection to someone in order to empathize with them. And again, I can't turn into a giant green monster, but I felt sad for the Hulk when I was a kid because he was so lonely. I empathize with Peter Parker, not because I was a scientific genius and could crawl on walls, but because I saw the turmoil of having to try to maintain a life and also have your own internal struggles. And with the X-Men, it didn't matter what they looked like. It didn't matter what their powers were. I mean, it's like, okay, well, Peter Parker, he was a white guy just like you. Yeah, and just like Peter Parker, obviously, I can swing from rooftops and jump off of walls and fight bad guys and lift cars. If you're just going to focus on particular aesthetic elements of a character as a definition of my being able to associate with them, it pretty much stops and ends with white guy. That's
kind of sociopathic and narcissistic.
Yes.
As you said, it's almost like,
Yes.
Could you imagine some friend of yours coming over and ripping through your comic saying, where are the characters that I identify with? Where are the ones that look like me? I would say, good grief, read this Spider-Man, read this Conan comic, whatever. Just grab something and shut up. And I feel like these Marxist radicals and those types, these ideologues, it's always reminded me of, like maybe you're 8 or 9 years old, you're playing with your Star Wars action figures or something, okay? Or your He-Man or your Marvel, whatever. Mm-hmm. And the kid that knows nothing about it, just to sort of come over and break things, comes over and starts making Chewbacca have sex with Han Solo, right? Like just laughing at you for even liking this stuff.
Right.
All you want to do is undermine it and say, ha ha, I'm in control now. And I'll make these characters do whatever I want. And we're never going to get Peter Parker and Mary Jane back together because we know that we're not going to, because we're going to troll the chuds and the incels that want that stuff. I mean, it really feels like the villains are in charge. And it's this sort of self-insert narcissistic mentality of people that they've elevated over there because they have weak leaders like C.B. Cebulski. And it's just sort of, it's festered. It really has festered where you're like, we're going to have to purify this thing with fire to ever have any hopes of getting it back to some sort of normalcy.
Yeah, and the other thing that you'll notice with both our speaker here and in several other instances, guys, when somebody talks about how they're not seeing themselves and they need to see it in order to be it and all this. What they've done is they've taken their own personal insecurities and pushed them outwards into being oppressed by some outside force. They can't take responsibility for their own emotions or their own self-esteem, so it's someone else's fault. And so the true crusade they are on is to free everyone else from that same self-oppression that obviously they're experiencing, because I do too. I'm not flawed. I'm not doing this to myself. Someone's doing it to me. And by speaking of doing it to me, the dead man has done it to me with a donation. Thank you so much, dead man. Happy birthday, RMB. I mean, Scribe Light.
There's
Thank
more.
you so much. And also, JB, holy cats, thank you so much. I wanted to be like Static Shock, used to daydream a lot, LOL, but it had nothing to do with race. It was a cool character. Simple as that. Exactly. Exactly. It's the content of one's character, not the color of your skin or any other applicable surface level element. Okay, let's keep going.
So why does a character like Kamala Khan resonate with so many people?
So many? Well, 40,000 down to 12,000.
Like the first African American and Latino Spider-Man.
You mean Miles Morales? Yeah.
He says it.
And also, again, what are the elements that are important to mention about Miles Morales? Not his morality, not his actions, not the hardships he's overcome. No, just his surface level ethnic and or racial elements.
Miles Morales.
It's Black Spider-Man. She said it. I mean, it's almost like, are we going back to that now, or we say Black Lightning, Black Panther, Black Goliath? Right. I mean, come on.
Khan is so much larger than just a pop culture icon. She came together in response to that global subconscious desire for representation.
No. She came about because the executives at Marvel gave in to your nonsense, and you are a narcissist. That's it. That's it. It's not you weren't answering some global need. Give me, good God, the ego on this lady.
Well, and you have to let your audience know. I know you dropped the link in the chat, but this is the same woman who told us a few years later, 5 years after this TED Talk, that or 4 years after, Marvel is no longer a boy brand.
Right.
It's a lifestyle brand. So basically she's one of those that came in and said, we're going to rip the legacy off of all this stuff. We're going to completely redo, and we're going to bring you Ironheart. We're going to bring you Miss Marvel. We're going to bring you America Chavez. And you're like, wait a minute, what happened to Iron Man, Captain America, and the Hulk? You know, that's what we're here for. Yeah,
she pulled a Bud Light on Marvel before Bud Light.
Yeah. It's like, hey, here's the steakhouse. Now we're a vegan house. Enjoy.
Muslim American bacon sniffing.
Sorry, hold on.
Here we go with the bacon sniffing.
Bacon sniffing. That just sounds so.
I don't sniff bacon. I eat it.
Yeah.
Together in response to that global subconscious desire for representation. For those Muslim American bacon sniffing short nerdy girls like me.
Okay, see, now again, the progressive stack, a list of elements that only are applicable to her and a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of the world's population in general. But it's really important that all of those things be represented in a comic book because of the global subconscious need. They didn't know they wanted, but now they have. Good gravy.
And for anyone else, regardless of their gender, sexuality, race, religion, who just feel like misfits themselves.
Yeah, you can get that across without... Anyway, I'm just repeating myself.
In the actual Ms. Marvel series, Kamala Khan is just a girl trying to fit in.
Is she?
She's constantly negotiating, renegotiating who she is, and all of the rules that come with it.
Boy, that makes for an exciting comic book, doesn't it?
I love it.
Where does she belong?
I don't know. You tell me.
She has no idea.
Maybe as a comic book editor.
She's still figuring out that journey to her authentic self. But all she knows is that she does not want to be limited by the labels imposed upon her.
No, you revel in having labels imposed upon you because then you can perpetually be a victim.
So really, Kamala Khan's story is everyone's.
Sure it is. Sure it is, lady.
It's about confronting the labels you've been assigned. And sculpting them and redefining them until you figure out who you truly are.
You're not talking about who, you're talking about a series of whats.
And what you actually believe.
I am the destroyer of brands.
I am become death.
One of my favorite mottos I actually have it written on a Post-it over my computer. I look at it every single day, and it was
Ooh, what's your favorite motto? What do you think it is, guys? Is it the J. Robert Oppenheimer quote, I am become death, the destroyer of worlds? That would be great.
said by
Smith Bacon.
by a poet named Rumi.
A poet named, I thought you said a Rumi named poet. Like what?
And it goes, do not be satisfied with stories, that which has come before. Unfold your own myth.
Okay.
And that is our challenge.
Then why are you a Muslim? Oh, wait, no, let's not go there. Don't define yourself by stories that have come before. Wait a second.
Every single one of us, no matter the categories we've inherited, we must unfold our own myth.
Right.
And it won't be easy. We're constantly navigating, rearranging, reinventing others' expectations of ourselves.
Well, you've unfolded your own myth that your character changed the entire face of the world. So
Well, she's even changed the power set of this character. It feels like she's about to be the top row center bingo of failing to make her argument. Or
yeah, we're getting there. We're almost there.
Every day. But every word we write in the narrative of our own lives, we come closer to uncovering what's beneath our own masks. Maybe even embracing that true misfit, that true crazy one
You know, if I hadn't already circled word salad, I would be now.
within. Oh, it'll be a fight, that's for sure. But
Sure.
that battle for your soul,
What?
for your authentic self, it's worth it, isn't it? It's bold, it's brave.
The brave and the bold? Wait a second. That's
Hold
another
on.
company.
In fact, I would say it's heroic.
Oh, would you?
So now,
Yes.
it's your turn.
It is? It's my turn? Oh my
I didn't
God.
know there'd be homework. Come on.
Jeez, it's like I've pulled Excalibur from the stone or something.
Tell me your story.
Do you really want to hear my story? Boy, oh boy. Have I got a couple of comic book characters that never reached fruition for you?
Thank you.
You think she stuck
All right.
around and let everybody tell them her story, their story rather?
I could only hope. You know, I've always wanted to attend one of these things, and hope beyond hope there was like a question and answer period
Sure, yeah.
for some of these. All right, guys. Well, that is the presentation. Let's go to the bingo card and go through it here. We'll go through it once ourselves, and then we will open it up to those of you in the audience for any other squares you think should be circled. Let me pull it up here. All right, let me update this, save this, refresh this. Here we go. This is the card as we have it right now. We're going to go over it one more time. Marginalization. That was definitely a theme when talking about all of these people like me who hadn't seen themselves and so on and so forth. So even if she didn't use the words,
I'd say absolutely.
the sentiment was certainly there. So
Yep.
circle on that one. Now, I don't know if I want to give her
No.
credit for self-vilification,
No.
saying that she was lazy because it was so offhand. And for those of you in the audience,
It's like one of those self-deprecating, like a backhanded compliment of yourself.
yeah.
Kind of like in an interview. Sometimes I hate that I'm so proficient. I mean, lazy. I get it. You're a nerd. What?
Yeah, for those of you in the audience that don't know, the sort of the classic example, it's somebody going up on the TEDx stage and talking about white privilege, let's say, and then admitting to the fact that they benefit from it. That kind of like actual self-vilification.
Yeah, that did not happen here. No.
Yeah, contradicts own point, fails to make argument. I don't even know what her argument ultimately was, except she's
that's-
awesome.
Let's take that one because we're not going to win it, but I think that one counts because she
Yeah.
did fail to make any argument. I don't even know what the argument was. What was her point?
Now, feminism, she did focus on the fact that she's a woman and the character's a woman, but I didn't hear anything that was overtly, specifically feminist about the talk.
Me either.
So I can't say that. Microaggressions or unconscious bias, certainly, because she was talking about stereotypes and judgments that people made against her or that she assumed they did, and that's what drove her to do this, that, and the other.
I just noted the chat is confirming that contradicts her own point because she was she admitted she could see herself in some characters not of her own demographic.
Right. Exactly. Yes, she could empathize with all these X-Men and Wolverine and everything, but Wolverine is like a white male Canadian who's I don't think that Wolverine ever had a religion.
Actually, he
say.
was a Christian in the animated series because there was a scene where he, I think Nightcrawler convinces him to
that's right.
turn his life over to Jesus. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I think you can find that on Disney.
Okay, privilege. Now, this is more abstract. She didn't say the word that I recall. So was there a theme of privilege in the course of this?
I don't think so.
Not that I mean, now the article that Chris gave us talked about there being a boys' club, but that's separate. So in this talk, did she use the element of privilege? There might be an argument there. I'll leave it for the audience. Benevolent condescension. Again, I feel like there is, but I'm trying to think of like an example where she was, because when talking to the audience or, okay, well, tell me about this. So when she said, in reference to all the characters that come before Miss Marvel, that it was such a simple thing to do as create a character like this, I felt like she was completely, and I don't think I'm too far off the mark, crapping all over everyone who had built Marvel Comics and the characters therein up to that point before she showed up. But was that benevolent? I think that was more, I don't think that was benevolent at all.
You know,
it was condescending.
It was condescending. She was that. I feel like, you know how Stan Lee used to always kind of talk about how with the creation him and Steve Ditko did for Spider-Man, that they made him a teenager in high school so that he had problems, a lot like the readers. So it was somebody the readers could identify with. So Stan Lee would make that argument. And I don't know that he was wrong in that argument. He may have just been trying to figure out, oh, shit, I don't know, Spider-Man, right? The kids like Spider-Man, right? And he was just trying to explain it. Maybe that was always his plan, and maybe that's exactly how it worked. But it feels like she's sort of thinking, well, I can do that with my character. So all I got to do is roll the Stan Lee formula, and that's how we get Miss Marvel. I don't know. Condescending, I don't know. I don't know if she actually kind of was that.
Yeah. All right, we'll leave that one for the audience then. Weightless example or non sequitur. Okay, so something that she brought up that didn't add. I mean, you could make the argument that the entire talk was a weightless example.
I kind of feel like maybe. Yeah. Let's give it. Let's take that non sequitur because she was kind of jumping all over the place.
Yeah,
and I think as a Marvel editor, she needed an editor for her speech.
So economic disparity, as far as I can recall, she didn't talk about like, oh, I came from like a poor background. She didn't talk about like wage gaps. So I don't think that came up.
No.
Deceptive statistics.
No.
She didn't give us any statistics. She gave sort of like glittering generalizations of the audience that was yearning for this character, but she didn't give us anything specific.
Yeah, you may need to update this bingo card for that kind of gratuitous thing. I don't know.
Let's see, a list. Well, she did give us a list of her labels.
Identity, yes.
Yeah,
so
she gave us an identity list.
Yeah,
yes, that would count in my mind. Patriarchy. Again, in the article Chris gave, she talked about the boys' club. In this, I don't think she...
Unrelated. Yeah, I mean, it's related, but it's not from this TED Talk, no.
Okay, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, here's the challenge, guys. Like I said, this took place in 2014. This was just a couple of years before the rise of D&I and language thereof. So she wasn't going to say DEI in here. But in retrospect, there was so much rhetoric in this talk that was immediately recognizable to me as DEI doctrine, as in representation. Specifically about representation and listing off these labels and identity politics, that you could say this is sort of a precursor to the currently understood DEI ethos. So I am going to circle this one.
Okay. Yeah.
Not because she used the terms, but because she was talking the talk.
Yeah.
All right. So circle in that one. White supremacy. Not explicitly. She did talk about brown skin here and there, but she didn't talk about white men explicitly or anything, or at least not directly. So I'm not clear on that one. Systemic or institutional. Well, she talked about society's expectations of people on the basis of your listed elements. And so that could be considered institutional thinking or systemic oppression or something. I don't know. What do you think?
It'd be a stretch. I think the next one, though, we do have for vital context.
And
because
what is that?
I keep going back to the bacon, because one of the things she never explained to us is what was the level of her adherence to the Muslim faith, right?
How relevant was it? Yeah.
It sounds like if you're saying, look, I was a bacon sniffer, that tells me that you don't eat the bacon. So you at least adhere to that tenet of your faith.
Right.
Or you've just been shamed growing up that we don't eat bacon, right? So I don't know. I think that is a context that's been left out with how much of an adherent to her faith is she?
Well, not only that, but the fact that even if she does adhere to that, she obviously does not adhere to other things that she herself listed, like covering up her hair and the rest of her body. And not
she
being
mentioned that,
stubborn.
She kind of casually mentioned, you may think maybe you think I don't drink alcohol, but she kind of just never told us. I think that counts. And I think that gives us a
agree
bingo.
with you.
Okay.
I agree. And guys, so that, if you didn't know, that's a bingo.
What? Bingo! Yeah! Of course!
We have our first bingo, guys. Bingo on the board. Thanks to Chris Brawley for that. All right, guys, so that's the card as we have it right now. If you have arguments for squares to be circled, put them in the chat now. If I miss your argument, please just repost it. I am not actively ignoring you. Let's grow up here. She said, poor parents, Scribe. Now, she was referencing the fact that she was stubborn, and so her poor parents had to deal with her stubbornness. She was not talking about their economic status. I remember that part specifically. So unless you've got an argument elsewise, I think she was just talking about her parents having to put up with her stubbornness.
I do appreciate that they are, like, hey, what about this? What about that?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. I got to tell you, Chris, my audience, holy cats, I cannot tell you how many times both, this is my favorite part of the show when it comes down to it, because it's like, okay, we haven't circled something or we have circled something. Yeah. Give me an argument. Did I miss something? Sometimes there are such brilliant deductions and persuasive arguments that come out of the audience that it just blows my mind. So let's see. Advocates Diablo, she talked about how for 75 years they told the stories of people behind the masks, but not of certain types of people, which heavily implies some sort of privilege. Oh, you see, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Like, I hadn't thought of that.
Wow. Okay.
What say you, Chris, on that one? Do you think that qualifies?
I think, yeah. I mean, why not? We've already got a bingo. I think that should qualify. And now I'm sitting here thinking, wow, if we also did that and took that poor family, we'd have two bingos. Oh my gosh.
I know. But see, this is the thing, especially when it comes down to a bingo square, I have to be very stickler. I'd be like, okay, I'm not just going to circle it to circle it.
No, agreed.
Let's see, moving on. Leaves out vital context. JB, we already covered, but anyway, she never explained what kind of, you're right. Yep. Got that one. Scrolling. Advocatus, mirror neuron theory was not a new buzzword. It was a psych term from the 80s.
Interesting.
Okay, so are you saying I should retract that circle?
Sounds like it.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Now here's the tough part, though. Going backwards with the paint program I'm using would take away all the other circles. So if it comes down to it, I need a second or a third in the chat for that one before I'll nullify it. Or otherwise, I had
never heard it, and I actually was a major in psychology in the late 80s, early 90s. So I had not heard that. But you've got a smart audience, though. I'm not saying I know everything.
Okay, well, if needs be, I will effectively nullify. I'll do a little bit.
Advocatus diaboli, is that, how do you say that?
Advocatus diaboli, the devil's advocate.
I like that. Well, you do have a smart audience.
Quick little funny fact. Christopher Hitchens, the famous atheist, when Mother Teresa was to be canonized by the Catholic Church, they have a process for canonization that requires a dissenting viewpoint. And so Christopher Hitchens, who had written a book very, very, very critical of Mother Teresa and her work, was invited to play the literal Advocatus Diaboli, the devil's advocate, at the Vatican. And Christopher Hitchens went on to say that he was, as an atheist, mind you, he's being the devil's. So he said, I was very happy to be the first person to represent the devil pro bono. And I thought that was always a great line.
That's funny. Yes.
Any other arguments for squares to be circled, guys? If you have them, please put them in the chat now. And if you want to second or third Advocatus' argument to nullify the attempt to coin new buzzword buzz phrase, I will certainly do that too. All right. Now, I know we're getting close to where Chris has to take off here. So, Chris, while we wait for any other arguments, do you have anything you got going on? Any appearances you have? Any articles you'd like to promote? Anything upcoming in your world?
Oh, gosh. Well, I mean, I've got so many fun people that have been writing over at Bleeding Fool. We just put up our finale for the Star Wars Andor Shark of Paper. Was a huge fan of the way that the show ended up. So he does give it a recommend. It is a slow burn for him. Tomorrow we're talking about, remember Cousin Oliver from the Brady Bunch?
I do. Yes.
That was when I think the term "jump the shark" had not quite been coined.
No, that was later on.
That was the Happy Days.
Yes, that was
shark.
the Fonz actually literally jumping a shark.
Yeah, jumping a shark. Yeah, but no one liked Cousin Oliver, and no one will like him today. He has some new comments that we share tomorrow morning. We post about 4 or 5 fun, newsworthy, well, it's not always newsworthy, but worth reading stories over at bleedingfool.com. And I keep things spicy at Chris Brawley on X, and we also have the Bleeding Fool on X. And I'm expecting, let me double check my schedule before I tell a falsehood. As a Christian, I would not want to be known to be a liar. I think I'm going to be on Midnight's Edge in the morning tomorrow at noon Eastern, hopefully with you, sir.
Yes, and unless something comes up, I plan to be there as well. Also, guys, all of Chris's links, as you mentioned, are in the description below. Is both the X accounts for him and Bleeding Fool, as well as the link to Bleeding Fool itself. And Keeverdam. Thank you, Keeverdam, again so much. Just found out that a storm busted out my front windows and some of the siding. Oh, no.
Good gosh.
Keeverdam, geez, that sucks. Well,
and you're paying to tell us that. How
I know,
generous. Wow.
Keeverdam, gosh. Okay, well, I hope everything else is safe and it's just some aesthetic stuff, but good gravy. Yeah, you can post them up on the Discord for everybody to see, Keeverdam. Okay, with that, guys, all things considered, I don't see other arguments in the... I
see one more from Fruit Zero.
Devil Fruit Zero. Benevolent condescension. People like her need to have representation, which is sourced by the advocates, not by the people that read the comic. This is for all those poor othered readers. Oh, like no one else can empathize. Everybody else is lonely like me, so this is for them. I'm not doing it for myself.
That's a seriously good argument.
That... You know what? I like that one. Advocatus, good job. That and you know what that does?
Oh my gosh!
Do you see what happens there?
Double bingo.
Oh
and
my gosh!
Made it into a cross.
I know, a double bingo. Actually, not a double bingo. It's a bingo by itself. We had the one bingo.
Yep.
But now we have another bingo.
Won't somebody please? Bingo. B-I-N-G-O.
Okay.
Right?
It's another bingo, guys. 2 bingos on one card.
That's Devil Fruit Zero. Very smart audience.
Thank you, Devil. And Chris Brawley, thank you so much for taking the time to join me tonight.
Gosh, what a treat, man. You've got a great audience. I love this concept, too. Hopefully you'll have another one that I can join in the near future.
Sure. Yeah. Anytime you wanna, or I find something that might be in your wheelhouse, I will let you know. We'll figure it out. Cool. Guys, again, check out Chris Brawley and all his links in the description below, and hopefully see both of us tomorrow on Midnight's Edge in the morning at 9:05 a.m. Pacific time, noon 05 p.m. Eastern time, pardon me. And Chris, thank you for joining me. Have a great rest of your night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Good night, everybody. Thanks. See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye, Chris. All right. Well, there you go, guys. That is Chris Brawley. And that is our first TEDx, not our only TEDx. No, guys. This is my birthday extravaganza. We're only just getting started. Holy cats. I've got at least 2 more items for us. So we're going to take a pause there for a second. I'm going to go over the chat here real quick. And I apologize, guys, for... I got so many moving parts going on right now. Roasted Opinions. Nice to see you. Who else is here that I haven't said hello to yet if I could avoid it or otherwise? I hope I didn't miss anybody else. I hope. There was a lot of birthday wishes in there, guys, and I tried to get them up on the screen as I could. I didn't want I was very, very cagey about Chris's time tonight because I know he was on kind of a brief schedule, and I was flattered by all means that he took the time out to join me today. So, Adabisi, hey, how's it going? Nice to see you. Senior staff reporter and chief Florida correspondent Colleen Bernier. Every day is a yay with Colleen Bernier. Nice to see you, Colleen. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, guys, so that was TEDXcellence number 1. So keep your bingo cards active. We're going to move on to TEDx number 2. I'm going to change the circle color from green to orange. And I know, oh, and by the way, so that attempt to coin new buzzword buzz phrase. Did we have a verdict on that one for this first talk? Should I nullify that one? Was that the idea? Let me know in the chat. I'll put on a little music here. Also, I want to thank again everybody who just sat around listening to me type last night as I worked on my story. It actually worked out really well for me. I may do that again in the future. I don't know, that it's not going to be a regularly scheduled type of thing. But if you happen to get an alert in your YouTube alerts of a writing stream, just know I'm not ignoring you. I'm just using the act of streaming in order to keep myself on task. Andy Masterson, thank you, Andy, so much. Hey, Andy, you want to come on? You want to do a TEDx? Let me know. I got a couple. Let's see. Let's see. Down the center, second row across, and diagonal left top corner down. What? What you say? Yeah, we had two bingos, but neither will be affected by the buzzword buzz phrase being taken off. Scribe, have you ever seen The Dark Side of the Moon? No, but I listened to it while watching Wizard of Oz. Does that count? I don't know. Let's see. Anything else? There were 3, not 2. Wait, there was 3 bingos? What? Am I just blind? Hold on. We got the one down the center. We got the one across the middle. What am I just... Oh, no, you're kidding me. You're right. Oh, my God. I'm totally blind. I am totally blind. I got so confused. You're right, guys. There were 3 bingos. What is wrong with me?
Bingo. What? Of course!
Okay, I apologize. And apologies to Chris that he wasn't here to see the 3rd bingo stinger. I'm just all over the place, guys. I got my brain is in 17 different directions. So that's a fault. Yes, Colleen Bernier. Good job, Colleen Bernier. You were correct. Sorry, I am so scattered. This is such a big show. I had so many things going on. Let's see. What else was this? Have you seen The Ruins of the Silver Millennium? No, but I saw the movie Millennium with Chris Christopherson. Does that count? Now that is a deep cut. Let me check something out real quick before I move on too much here. Okay. Yeah, this is the problem when you only have like one monitor. I keep thinking I really should get a 2-monitor setup for this deal. But I've been thinking about that for years and I still haven't. So I probably should. It's from Sailor Moon. Okay, now that's why I don't recognize that. I never watched Sailor Moon. I wasn't that kind of kid. Whatever that means. So let's do as a brief, because I think this one, how long is this one? That's 9 minutes. Now let's do, this is 5 minutes long. This TEDx is 5 minutes long. This hour has 22 minutes. So let's do this one. It is this one right here. Okay, so this one is called Queer World Making. What if love was the... What was it? What's the full title? Pardon me. I had the whole thing here. What if love was the foundation of our economy? Now, when I think of love being the foundation of an economy, I usually think of Valentine's Day or the red light district, but that's just where my brain goes. What about you? So let's go on with this one. Get your bingo cards ready. It's a short one. It's only 5 minutes long. And then we'll move on to the second major feature of the evening. So here we go. Any time now. Oh, there's a whole opening thing. My apologies. I don't think I cut this one out. Okay.
They found her body in an alleyway in central Beirut.
Well, that's not a happy opener. Okay, that's kind of grim. Thanks a lot for bringing the tone down.
Tala was a Syrian trans woman.
So a man
who was murdered by far more than just weapons.
Okay.
She was murdered by a bureaucracy enveloped into an economy that was never made for her.
An economy that was never... Okay, Syria. I think there might have been some other... I could be wrong. But I think there might have been some other forces at play than economy. But you never know. I don't know the specifics of this crime.
Tala was queer.
I would have to assume so.
Like me.
Like you?
And to be queer means that institutions, economies, laws, streets, houses are often not designed for you.
Well, you're still... It depends on the country when it comes to laws. Houses are not designed for you. What house is not... Okay, okay, and this is one of those things where it's like I feel awkward laughing at the nonsense here because he's talking about a very serious incident. Okay, anyway, let's go to the bingo card real quick. As compared to being murdered, I don't think this guy is in the same ballpark of oppression. So I'm circling plays victim. I'm also circling systemic institutional because he talked about systems and institutions and so on, circling that one. What else? Collectivize his own demographic. Already he's done that. Boy, oh boy, we're only like 41 seconds in. I got 3 squares circled. Anything else? Well, I mean, just ipso facto, there's the privilege because these things are not designed for me. Therefore, everybody else it is. Wowie on that one. What can I tell you? All right, let's... Kildrig, thank you so much. Queer world making would be a lot more interesting of a topic if it were about writing gay characters than talking about the economy. Yeah, I have no context. Speaking of leaving out vital context, I had no context for what the title meant. So we're about to find out together. Okay, well, thank you, Kildrig, very much. It's very generous of you. Okay, I'm going to slow down a little bit because I could be circling squares forever here. Let's keep going. Not designed for you. How? Okay. Laws? Okay, the laws of Syria, I can only assume, given the current government and strife there, probably weren't designed for people who stray from certain norms. But how is a house not designed for you because you're queer?
Thinking about the economy queerly changes everything.
I would have to assume so.
What if I told you that...
What if I told you that... Are we getting into the Matrix now?
The economy is not just about money.
Well, it's not just about money, but that is a important element. Depends on what you... I mean, it could be goods. It could be barter.
It's not just about how much you spend, how much you produce.
Well, I mean, it is kind of inherently involves those things, but it's not just... You're right. These are all pieces that are working together and or at odds with each other.
It's about far more than just that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me take you to my home country, Lebanon.
Boy, you're talking about some great places on the planet when it comes to freedom of movement and behavior, but okay.
Where I'm from.
Yes.
Often media back home would say queerness, sexuality, these are cultural issues.
I mean, the media probably would. What might be fueling that media narrative in those countries?
These are issues of morals, of tradition, of national identity.
Of religion.
These are issues that have nothing to do with the system, with the economy, with the day-to-day life.
Well, I mean, unless you're talking about building a market on the basis of these elements, then probably not. But by all means, correct me.
Let's cut through the noise for a second.
Please do. I tell you what, you've only got a couple of minutes anyway.
Because if you look around you in your own society, in your own communities,
Yes.
who doesn't even get the chance or opportunity to build economic security, financial security, well, any semblance of safety whatsoever?
Aborted babies. That doesn't get a chance at all. I don't know. Who would that be?
It's often those who can't marry into legal protections.
Can't marry into legal protections?
It's those who can't access safe housing.
Can't access safe housing.
It's those who can't fall back onto familial support, familial wealth of any sort.
Okay. Well, I'm going to circle a list because he was giving us, well, a list. And he didn't give a childhood or family anecdote specifically yet, but we might get there. Let's keep going. Oh, yes, advocatus, yes. Economic disparity, yes. I should have circled that right off the bat, yes. Economic disparity, circling that one.
But here's the thing. When we're talking about who gets to access wealth, who gets to access safety,
yes,
the most bare minimum of human requirements, we're not just talking about some excluded group, some marginalized identity,
marginalization, circling that one on the board as well. Hold on. I got to make sure my circles are now concentric since I've got more than one color up there. Okay.
A token of sort. We're actually talking about rethinking the entire foundation of how our economy has been designed.
Okay, this is a lot of build-up, and you're already halfway through your talk. Let's get to it.
But you know, often people would come up to me.
I smell an anecdote that probably never happened coming.
Because I do work on this. This is my research on this side, and people would come up to me and say, hey, like, inclusion is happening already at a global scale. We have same-sex marriage, the decriminalization of same-sex relationships happening at a global scale.
Okay, well, he said inclusion, so circling diversity, equity, and or inclusion. So let me circle that one here. All right, well, give us some more information because I'm not sure. I might be circling anecdote here pretty quick.
Which I think is good.
But
to that, I would say inclusion does not necessarily mean empowerment.
You're not entitled to empowerment. At least now he's talking about, he's so far mentioned Syria and Lebanon. I can't speak in any meaningful way about what goes on in those countries, save for what I hear on the news and my general understanding thereof. But when he's mentioning things like legalizing same-sex marriage, I'm thinking of, say, well, America, for lack of a better example. And you have the pursuit of happiness here, not the guarantee or the entitlement thereof. So ultimately, you're not owed anything just because you're not straight. You might be owed something or entitled to something because you're an American citizen or other elements thereof, but not being straight does not automatically grant you some kind of free ride. Well, it shouldn't. But we see so many times in the media and elsewise that often that is some sort of like ticket of success all by itself, or they try to make it out to be.
Inclusion can legitimize power structures, authority that is violating queer bodies, but also all of our bodies.
Whoa. Okay, word salad, circling word salad. I have the distinct impression he's not going to clarify whatever the heck that was supposed to mean. So circling that one.
And you know, queer people don't really have the luxury of waiting, of time. They don't have the time to wait for states to recognize them as human beings.
So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to, advocate for, try to impose legislation, do something to try to move the needle in your country towards a better future for people who are different? So if you don't have the time, what are you doing then?
They don't have the luxury to wait for economies to see them as far more than just some expendable labor.
Wait, okay, hold on. I'm about to circle, where is it here? Weightless example, non sequitur, because your opening story, you have not connected a murder to this so far. And you're running out of time.
So they built parallel economies.
They built parallel economies, which just becomes part of the economy they're a part. Are you talking about like a black market economy? What are you talking about?
They built financial circuits where in order to survive.
Like what? Okay, give me an example. I can imagine quite a bit, but give me an example of what you're talking about.
Cash pooled between friends.
You mean cash that's part of the established economy?
Shared housing, social housing.
Housing that is part of the overall economy?
Mutual aid. Essentially, capital confronted with intimacy.
Capital confronted with intimacy? What? JB, thank you so much. Plot twist, he is the murderer. It's like, I tell you this story, not to brag, but jeez. Oh my God, what are you talking about?
And this always reminds me of what lesbian feminists have told us for decades.
Lesbian feminist. Okay, well, circling feminism, I hadn't anticipated to circle that one on this talk. But okay, what have lesbian feminists been telling you for decades?
That the most radical thing we can do in times like this is to love.
All you need is love. Love is just a game. I was made for loving you, baby. You were made for loving me. Sorry.
Love not just as an emotion or as an ethic. Love as a revolutionary force.
Okay, I need to get out the love beads and the guitar and start singing Kumbaya or something, don't I?
As a revolutionary economic force. Love as a model that can produce what capitalism cannot even grapple with.
What?
Economies of solidarity, economies of cooperativity, economies that are based on love and togetherness.
What? Okay, here. It's a brief TEDx, because it's almost done. But the more that he rambles, I just can't help but ask myself.
What the fuck are you talking about?
What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this?
Right?
Yeah, so, whoops. Oh, no, you know what? I didn't make an overlay for this show. Oh, man. Let's put up this one. There we go. Now, usually I make an overlay with the title of the talk I'm going to be doing. I didn't even bother making an overlay because once I found out I had a guest, I just said, I can't. Overlays are getting in the way, so just... Anyway, so there you go. Yeah, I don't know. And he's got 20 seconds left.
And with that, I guess I would leave you with one final question.
Sure, because you haven't given me any answers so far.
Will you continue to let the economy mold you?
Will I continue to let the economy mold me?
Or will you queer it with your own hands? Thank you very much.
Man, I tell you what, I can't wait to queer the economy with my own hands. Can you? I mean, I don't know about you, but okay. Anyway, whatever that was is where we're at now. Okay, so this is the bingo card as I have it. If you have arguments for squares to be circled, hold on to them. Self-vilification or wretchedness, didn't hear anything. Contradicts own point or fails to make argument. Boy howdy. Fails to make argument. What argument? There was nothing there, no specificity, nothing, just a bunch of buzzwords and buzz phrases. Microaggressions or unconscious bias. I mean, that was the implication through that first story, but I might need some backup on that one. Benevolent condescension. It was so abstract what he was saying. Weightless example, non sequitur. By all means, that opening gambit. What did that have to do with anything? And he didn't even barely connect it to anything he was saying elsewise. Deceptive statistics. I don't think he gave us any, did he? I could be mistaken, but I don't believe so. JB, is this guy getting ripped off at his ESL class? My hovercraft is full of eels. Oh, man. I don't know. I mean, that was such a brief talk to talk about something that seems so profound. And he said nothing. Absolutely nothing. Weaver, you're so stupid. Anyway, moving on. Let's see. We got to circle free space. So we got that one there. So let's click on that and update that for Dogcat Fox's sake. Okay, there's the cardigan. Attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase. I didn't hear anything. Mind reading assumes motives. I don't know. What was he talking about? Patriarchy? He talked about feminism. He didn't talk explicitly about patriarchy. Anecdote that probably never happened. The only one he gave that I can recall... Oh, wait, no. The people come up to me, keep asking me... Yeah, you know what? I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that people keep... And I wasn't even sure what it was they were supposed to be asking him anyway. Let's see. White supremacy... Didn't talk about race, really. Childhood or family anecdote? No. Leaves out vital context. Like, what the hell are you talking about? What kind of parallel economies? What do you mean? Like, give me an example. What was being sold? Like, housing? But you're still using... It wasn't a parallel economy. It was just part of the economy, ultimately. I mean, if I work under the table for a business, that's not a parallel economy. I'm still giving my labor for money that I'm going to end up spending elsewhere. It's still part of the economy. It's just not listed, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, with that, if you can believe it, one of these things.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Right?
Yeah!
All right. And sales pitch for product or service. No. I mean, saying I want to start a love economy or something doesn't really, it's not specific enough to me. And so he didn't advertise anything in particular. So in my mind, that's about it. But if you guys have any squares yet to be circled, let me know. And I will pull things up over here. Let's see. Advocates Diaboli assumes motives that capitalism cannot be utilized by queer people, which is not even true. That is, yeah, you're right. Mind reading assumes, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I don't even understand what the hell that was supposed to mean in the first place. Houses aren't designed for me? What did that even mean? Childhood anecdote could be the murder he... Okay, all right, stop it. For legal purposes, that is all a joke. There's no accusations of criminal behavior going on here. JB, patriarchy, he didn't mention women. Oh. Let's see, scrolling up a bit. Advocates Diaboli, capitalism based on trade and the intent of people doing the trading is meaningless. Yeah. It really is. It just ends up becoming part of the economy. So I don't even know what he was talking about. Queer world building, new buzz. You're absolutely right. That is true. That is also true. Yeah, he tried to push that one. So circling that one. Okay, I don't have any hidden bingos I'm missing this time, am I? I hope not. Don't want to get caught again. Don't want Colleen Bernier to show me up again. Dang it. Colleen Bernier. Jeez. Any other squares to be circled, guys? We got one bingo out of this one. A 5-minute bingo and a whole bunch of squares circled. For 5 minutes, this guy covered a lot of bases. Holy cow. Was there any benevolent condescension taking place? Because any benevolent condescension would get us a bingo. But I'll leave that to you. And I'm not seeing any movement on the chat, which makes me immediately paranoid that there's something wrong with my connection. So if anybody wants to dissuade me from being paranoid, please say something in the chat. It doesn't have to be intelligible, it just has to be something. Oh, there we go. Advocates Dabbly, he did talk about family not supporting queer people. Could have been his. Could have been, but unfortunately not specific enough for me to say so. So, yeah. Toot sweet, to quote Billy Madison, everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. That's also true. Morgan King, 5x5, Mike R, hey Scribe. Okay, thanks guys, appreciate it. Yeah, I have very few warning systems when I'm broadcasting by myself that something may be wrong with the broadcast, so I appreciate the feedback. Attribution, I cannot hear you. Be paranoid, Scribe. Oh, what have you done to me? Thanks loads, Attribution. Jeez. All right, guys. Well, in the absence of any other arguments for squares to be circle, we're going to move on to our third, and I'm afraid to say, or I'm not afraid to say, depending on how much brain melting I want to do, our last TEDx of the evening. Let's see here. We've got to keep that one open there. Make sure I got all my tabs right up. That one there. All right, guys. This is our last one of the evening, a full-size TEDx. And what, might you ask, is the title of this one? Well, I'll tell you. It is The Text Message That Changed My Understanding of DEI. Boy, oh boy. And pardon me while I cough a sec. Yes, I've been talking too much here. My voice is about to get much more sensuous, deep, gravelly. Also, Kay Roberts, hello. This was long for a Scribe show. That's the only way I go, is long. Memes of Destruction, thank you so much for the happy birthday. Nice to see you. All right, so yes, this is the text that changed my understanding of DEI, guys. Now, the only note I'll give is that the recording quality on this one sounds like the concert hall that is listed on the screen. So I boosted the audio quite a bit. It still sounds coherent as far as I can tell. I only listened to a couple of seconds here and there to make sure. That's the only warning I'll give. If it ends up being too echoey or something, maybe I'll turn down the volume a smidge just for clarity. But otherwise, get your bingo cards ready. We're on our third color. What shall I do? I did green, orange. Let's do purple. And with that, let's do this one. Clocks in at just at 14 minutes and 30 seconds. So this is going to be a long one. That's the only kind that I know. Let's go.
It was 11:21 p.m.
It was 11:21 p.m. Oh, man. I don't know. I boosted the audio a lot, guys. So this is the audio like pumped up by like 12 decibels or something. If it's not, well, you know, legible to you, so to speak, let me know in the chat. But I've turned off the music so we don't confuse it any further.
I was lying in bed, phone in hand.
You were lying in bed, phone in hand. I swear I'm not going to repeat everything that she says. I just want to make sure that people get it. And also, that's a lot of woman right there.
Halfway through a text conversation with my son. Nothing out of the ordinary. Just checking in like I always did.
Uh-huh.
Then the phone buzzed. With a text message that would change everything I thought I knew about inclusion.
Okay, someone was closing a door just then. She said a text message that changed everything I thought I knew about inclusion. So we're going to go over the bingo card, and I am going to circle diversity, equity, and or inclusion. So circle in that one, and as well free space. There we go.
In his straight-to-the-point, matter-of-fact texting style, my son sent a brief message that read,
okay.
I just wanted to let you know I'm gay. I froze. My heart.
I just wanted to let you know I'm gay. Okay, I did not plan that the previous TEDx talk would in any way relate to this one, but there you go. Surprises are surprises. Okay, so your son comes out of the closet to tell you he's gay. And okay, now maybe this is a good story. Maybe she had a whole bunch of prejudices and intolerances prior to that, and suddenly it hits close to home and she changed her mind. Now, the title said DEI, but she's talking about inclusion. So,
I froze. My heart sank. My stomach was queasy.
Okay, and now suddenly the sound desyncs from the video. That's not my doing, and you're not seeing things. That apparently is just, oh man, this is going to give me a headache.
I stared at the phone as the weight of those words settled over me.
And now it syncs back up again. Somebody was doing something goofy at TEDx.
Like a heavy blanket. My hands trembled, but my mind went completely blank.
Okay, you were in shock.
You see, I thought I understood inclusion. After all, I am a diversity, equity, and inclusion professional.
Oh, she's a diversity, equity, and inclusion professional. She thought she understood inclusion. Oh my gosh, guys, she does this for a living. Oh boy, I always love having, subject matter experts on TEDx Talks.
I coach leaders on belonging. I train people on inclusion.
Oh my gosh.
Yet, in that moment,
yes,
I wasn't the expert.
You weren't the expert in that moment. Okay, so what was the conflict? I really need to know, what exactly was this major conflict you suddenly had? Why was this such a mind-blanking moment, especially in this day and age? If she was giving this talk back in like 1996 or something, okay. But no, we're in the modern day. We're in the current year, so why?
I was a mother.
Yes.
A mother who suddenly, despite everything I thought I knew, was not ready for that moment, not ready for the emotions, not ready for the questions, and definitely not ready for the reality check that was about to smack me in the face.
So you were not practicing what you were preaching, is what you're telling us. Okay. Also, I'm going to circle, and if anybody's been yelling at me in the chat, I apologize, circling child or family anecdote, because it's obviously all based around a family anecdote. Circling that one.
Because what good is preaching about inclusion from platforms, in boardrooms, and in workshops if when it lands on your own front doorstep, you have no idea what to do about it?
Okay. I said practicing what you preach. She said preaching in boardrooms and so on. I'm going to give myself a little.
In that very personal and profoundly vexing moment, I had to ask myself, do you really believe what you teach about inclusion?
Okay, so wait a second. Granting our speaker the benefit of the doubt here, the fact that her son came out to her as gay, depending on your family or what you thought you knew about your child and everything else, it could be a surprise. There's nothing inherently morally questionable about it. It depends on how you responded to it, I suppose, or what you assumed to know about the situation as a result. You haven't told us that, so I don't have any reason yet to apply a negative, pejorative or something to you on the basis of you being surprised by your son making this announcement to you. That does not make you a bad person to be surprised by something. Okay, how did you react? What did you say? What were your internal feelings and so on? You've kept it very ambiguous so far. I wonder why.
I talked to a lot of leaders about inclusion. What it means.
What does it mean? You're not... Okay, this is your son. He is your child. He's already part of your family. And for the sake of argument, and in the absence of any other information, I'm going to assume that you have a close relationship with your son. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have made this confession to you, although making it over text is a little bit impersonal, but whatever. Anyway, how is he not included before... Okay, I should say, how is he included before this revelation, or how is he not included after? What were your reactions? How did you treat this information? Did you reject your son? I didn't hear you say that, but then the implication is that somehow inclusion was put under threat by this announcement.
How to build it, how to make it more than a buzzword.
Well, it is a buzzword. And inclusion oftentimes just means lowering standards so that you have more people who look a particular way qualifying in the absence of merit to be in particular spaces. That's usually what inclusion means. But anyway.
And let me tell you, a lot of us struggle with it. We stumble over the words. We overthink the meaning.
It's very simple. Just imagine a theme park. An amusement park. And you know that little sign that's on some roller coasters and things that say, you must be this tall to ride this ride? All inclusion is pulling that meter as far down to the ground as you can while still being able to say that there is a meter. That's all inclusion is.
We try to figure out if it's celebrating difference, appreciating authenticity.
It's not.
Or just trying not to offend anyone.
Well, there's that too, but that's also a smokescreen.
And let's be honest, sometimes it just feels like a game of, am I saying the right thing?
You're right. It's almost like there's absolutely no definition to any of this stuff, and everybody's just making it up as they go along to be powerful over somebody else and, perpetuate this victim-oppressor narrative.
Growing up in the 60s and 70s, I heard a lot of messages that shaped who I am today.
Really? Like what?
They included, you can be anything you want if you work hard enough.
Well, I heard that too, and I was growing up in the 80s and the 90s, so hey, some things are generational.
Always wear clean underwear.
Yeah?
I have a dream today. I am somebody.
Sure.
Jesus saves.
Yeah, it all depends on, I guess, your personal predilections,
Be home before the streetlights come on.
Oh boy, those were the days. Remember when kids were allowed to go outside and play by themselves?
If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
That's usually a pretty good one, yeah.
These words and many more became part of my DNA.
Great. So it's instilled with you some values, some perspectives, some overall stuff. And again, which are common amongst many, 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 many people, myself included. Okay, and?
They shaped how I see the world, how I move through it, and even how I raised my children.
Okay.
But one text message from my son caused me to question whether those words that meant so much yesterday still meant something today.
Why? Okay, pardon me. You have to tell us what you said, what you did, what your internal reactions were. If you do not tell us specifically how you betrayed these values you assumed you possessed, none of this matters. None of this makes any sense. So, by all means, tell us how you behaved upon this revelation. Elsewise, there is no story here.
They just seemed inadequate and insufficient.
So what did you do?
My son was in his first year of college when he told me.
Okay, so he was, we'll say what, 18, 19, or early 20s, something like that. Okay, 18 to 20.
I remember the exact moment. I took a deep breath. I put my phone in my lap and I lay in the bed. I put one hand over my head.
Well, I mean, I'm glad she's being very detailed here. I'd like to hear what you were thinking and or how you responded and how this was such a dramatic betrayal of your personal values.
Trying to process what was happening.
It's not that complicated. I could be very vulgar here. I won't be. But there's a Norm Macdonald joke about taking part in pride parades that come to mind.
The other was pressed over my heart, trying to keep it from bursting from my chest.
Why? What was being threatened by his announcement?
My husband noticed my expression. He looked over at me and said, "What's wrong, wifey?"
What's wrong, wifey? Okay.
I handed him the phone. I watched his expression.
Too.
I felt his silence fill the space between us.
The space between the wicked lie. Oh, sorry. I was getting all Dave Matthews there for a second.
And then, as if the universe knew I was about to call him, my son sent another message.
Another message? Uh-oh. And it also said, I'm gay. I'm also a vegetarian. No!
The phone buzzed and it read,
Yeah?
I just am not in the mood to talk about this right now.
Okay. Well, then I guess texts are safer that way. If you're not in the mood to talk about it. So you just drop this revelation in front of your parents and just run. Like, okay, sounds... I mean, in my world, it wouldn't matter. It'd be like, okay, whatever, you do you, kid. I don't care, but whatever. Thank you again, JB. She was thinking, oh shit, I shouldn't have left Jeff Doucette teach him karate. This is a joke, not being serious. Like, oh man, JB, you're just full of accusations this evening. Good gravy. Conspiracy theorist. Thank you, JB. Appreciate it.
And just like that, the door closed. But wait, I wanted to talk to him.
Well, okay, but respect his wishes. And so, again, what was your reaction? How did you behave? And how was it a portrayal of your assumed virtues and standards prior to that moment? You still haven't told us.
I wanted to see him. I wanted to tell him that I loved him.
Oh, well, then tell him you love him. Just text him, I love you. And like, it doesn't matter to me. I love you regardless. You're my child. That's all you needed to do. I don't want to talk about it. You're not talking. You're just sending a text. You could text him back. He couldn't stop you.
And that nothing had changed.
Then just say that. Send that text.
But the truth?
Yeah.
The truth is everything had changed.
How? In what way? Was there some religious consideration here? Some sort of family traditional consideration? Was there something else going on? What had changed? What did this revelation do to you?
And that scared me.
Like what?
I was worried.
Yeah?
Worried about his future. Worried about how the world would treat him. And
how this world would treat him in the modern day? Okay, I apologize. I just heard in the background I have my phone going off. So I'm going to mute myself just for a second. I'll be right back, guys. I apologize. Okay, apologies everybody. That was a call from a plumber because I got a whole bunch of stuff going on tomorrow, so I needed to schedule with him what was going on. So I apologize for that, but it was an expected call, but I thought I'd be getting it tomorrow or would have gotten it earlier today. So Apologies for that. Super Mutant 2099, thank you so much for the happy birthday. Appreciate it. And, okay, make sure I get myself caught up here. I didn't want to miss anything. So, apologies for that. Who's in the picture in the background? Because I thought she was talking about a son, not a daughter. I think that's her. I'm not sure. Let me back up a little bit in case I missed something because I got distracted. So here we go.
I was worried.
Yeah, that's her. I believe that is her.
Worried about his future, worried about how the world would treat him, and even worried about how some of our family might respond.
Okay, all right. So you come from maybe a more traditional family, let's say, quote unquote. All right. So there were considerations, social considerations for this.
I was confused about how my beliefs, my faith, my values, my upbringing, and my reality all collided.
Okay, you know what? As I said earlier, it's like, okay, so if you had some long-held standing beliefs and assessments about people and morality and this, that, and the other, and at the same time you're teaching DEI, and then suddenly someone in your family says something that is not kosher, for lack of a better phrase, what do you do? Okay, what does this have to do with DEI specifically? I don't know yet. But I'm desperate to find out.
In this one moment. And if I'm being completely honest.
I don't know. Are you?
I was hurt.
You were hurt. Okay. How were you hurt by this?
Because I had to acknowledge that my son had been carrying the weight of this all alone.
You were hurt because he kept something private. Like, you were hurt that you thought he couldn't trust you, that kind of thing?
And that somewhere deep down within, he believed that I wouldn't accept him.
Why would he think that? You just told us that your entire world was shattered. You just told us that there were elements within your family structure that might not accept this. So it sounds to me like his fears in some way, shape, or form were justified.
And that was the part that broke me.
Okay, and so what did you do?
Many leaders think they have inclusion all boxed up.
Interesting segue.
They think they've checked the list.
We're
an open and accepting organization here.
Yeah, well, tell me how many organizations, I shouldn't say that in these days because it's actually true. I still am bewildered by organizations that need to know who you like having sex with or make that an element that you have to express outwardly all the time or treasure or something. That's never, always boggled me.
Here. Check. We treat everyone the same. Check. We're an equal opportunity employer. Check.
Yeah, it's a whole like conforming to the law kind of thing.
But what if I told you?
What if I told you, or back to Morpheus again,
that the way we've been focusing on inclusion might actually be keeping us stuck?
Oh my gosh, well tell me, oh tell me true.
A Harvard Business Review study found.
A Harvard Business Review study found, oh well, you know, if there's one place I want to go to for reliable information in this day and age, it's Harvard when it comes to ideas about diversity, equity, and inclusion.
That most organizations have diversity programs that don't work.
What? Oh my God, guys! Guys, do you know that diversity programs don't work? Of course, you can only assess whether something works by the goals it sets out to achieve and then how it achieves them. And if your goals are to equalize the population on the basis of racial or gender demographics, or in some cases orientation demographics, but somehow you just can't get there, on the one hand, it's probably a good thing because you're failing to be as successfully discriminatory as you want to be. But also, why would you keep doing them in the first place?
Not because they're not needed.
Okay, if they're not successful, how are they needed?
But because they're forced into old systems
Old systems. What old systems? Diversity professional.
That were never designed for real inclusion to begin with.
Are these the same systems that you've been promoting throughout your entire career? And how did you not recognize that they were unsuccessful up to this point?
Let me say that again.
Please.
If we're still talking about including people,
then
they were never truly part of the design to begin with.
Okay. I am decidedly confused. What does this have to do? So, I mean, if we're, okay, let me try to think about this for a second. Okay, so if we're going to take your interaction with your son as a metaphor for the failures and weaknesses of DEI in general, then DEI believes itself to be a virtuous system when in actuality, in practice, it is one big liar. Is that what I'm told? Is that what I'm supposed to take from this? Because that's what I'm taking from this, unless you want to correct me. Holy cats, Ron Hirushin. Thank you so much. Happy birthday, Scribe. I hope you're having a great one, and I wish you well. Thank you so much, Ron. I am having a good day because of you guys. Thank you so much. And also to have had Chris Brawley on earlier. And to wallow in TEDx's. Stretch my mind a little bit today. Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it. Yeah, so I'm getting some mixed messages here. So you proceeded through life believing that these words and phrases that you grew up with shaped who you were, made you a moral person, made you a welcoming person, made you a forthright and thinking person. And then one day, and you carried this over into your professional life in DEI. And then one day you were thrown for a loop because your son said something that countered what you felt comfortable in accepting and had been raised to accept as normal. And then suddenly you realize that, oh, well, if I mean what I say, I can't react badly to this. Now let's talk about the flaws in DEI, where it's proceeded throughout time thinking that it was this virtuous institution pushing all this good stuff, when in fact, it's not very good at all. Now here's the question. Is she going to have a sudden and meaningful moment of revelation about the absolute futility of her professional career? Is she going to, by the end of this, tell us that DEI is a complete waste of time? That would be great. That would be great. And also probably very healthy for her. But I got a feeling that she's going to circle back around to where everything is still A-okay. Let's find out.
Too often, organizations treat inclusion like a patch job. Tweaking policies, rolling out training.
Well, what else would it be? If somebody came in and said, like legitimately, your company policies are excluding people from opportunities in the workplace, right? Let's take I don't know, let's go back to say the 1964 or something like that, right? Let's say that like, oh, you know, this policy in your company is actually depriving women of the opportunity to have positions in executive offices, right? You say here on your job application, you know, the man applying for this job must do X, Y, Z, PDQ. You need to change that and to be more inclusive. Like, oh, I guess I need to because there's a law that says so. So it is about a tweak. It is about changing something. If you're doing something that is actively and demonstrably excluding people unfairly from opportunities, yeah, you have to change your policies. Okay, so if it's not just a quote-unquote patch job, and honestly, with established civil rights laws, anything any company says about it is a patch job, but it's a patch job of new ideology and regressive ideology. What are you talking about? That was the scenic route to me asking, what are you talking about?
Or adding new programs to existing systems. But that kind of patchwork inclusion rarely works.
Is that what you have been promoting throughout your career? I really want you to tell us. I want to hear you confess that this is what you did in the course of your professional career up to this grand revelation. At least make that connection for me. That in addition, in the metaphor of your own life versus your professional career with DEI, that you too participated in giving the patchwork philosophy, but now you have a new solution, a better solution, right?
Patching up the holes in the walls of your organizational culture isn't inclusion, it's renovated exclusion.
None of this means anything. Give me an example.
True inclusion demands more. It means tearing down what's not working and rebuilding spaces where inclusion was meant to be.
Circling word salad. Just and this is par for the course for DEI advocates. Saying it's a sophistry. It's pablum. It's just nothing but words that sound like they mean something, but with no specificity, it means zippo. You need to give me an active example. If you're a professional in this, you must have plenty of examples that you can provide us that are anathematized for the sake of not giving away your clients or something, of like something, a pattern I often see in businesses is XYZ PDQ. You could give us that, and we could work with that. Will you give us that, please?
From the start. It means creating spaces where belonging isn't an afterthought. It's intentional design and implementation.
Like?
So the question isn't how do we include people?
Yes, it is.
The real question is how do we build systems and structures where no one ever has to feel excluded? Because if we're constantly...
That is the exact same question. It's the exact same question, just rephrased. It's not about how do we include people. It's how do we create systems that make sure everybody's included.
Talking about making room, then we have to admit that the room wasn't built with them in mind.
And what does that look like on the ground at a business? Let's say I take whatever this is for granted here. Okay, there's a business that is in some way, shape, or form, I wish you'd tell us, but otherwise, is not being inclusive. Okay, how do they admit to their sin of their past behavior and then move forward? Could it be a change in policy, what you call a patchwork? You know, and I've said this, I can't count how many times, just to keep going back to it. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, it changed the law, but you know what it also was? It was a confession of bad behavior. It was a confession that prior to that act being passed, we as a country had gotten it wrong, and it was a promise to do well for the future. It did not change the past. It did not fix all wounds, but at least it was an admission of fault. So, aside from the inherent confession of wrongdoing that a change to policy that is meant to get rid of obstacles to inclusion, aside from the fact that it is an inherent confession of previous bad behavior, what more are you looking for? And could you, by God, could you give us a specific example of what you mean?
My family and I had some hard conversations after that night.
I'm sure you did.
We yelled. We cursed.
What was the underlying conflict? Was it a religious one? What was it?
We cried.
You cried.
We prayed.
Okay, all right. So there was a religious component to this, resistance to your son's confession, okay?
We worked through the questions.
I think it was a self-imposed problem, but okay.
And we're still working through them.
Really? What mystery is left to this?
Still working through them.
Okay, so like with your family situation, you possess no answers when it comes to DEI and inclusion?
And I had to come to the realization that inclusion isn't just a zero-sum game.
I don't even know what that means in this context. Also, I'm going to circle self-vilification or wretchedness because, and I think it's sincere. I don't think it's necessarily a ploy here, pardon me, but definitely so. Her and her family are still struggling with this revelation. Okay.
It's not some people having to lose while others get to win.
Really? Because that's often the terms and the conditions I'm told when it comes to this stuff. All right, well, that sounds maybe promising. So what is it?
It's not me forcing my ideas on you or you forcing your ideas on me.
I don't know about that first one. When your son, as you intimated, was scared to tell anyone in the family about this, I think some ideas might have been forced upon him over the course of his growing up, and until he left for college and was finally away from the family, did he feel like he had enough distance to make such a statement. But you do you.
It's not mandatory conformity.
Are you sure about that? And have you seen some of the DEI policies that have come about in the last 10 years?
And it's not tolerance either.
It
is about belonging.
Belonging without tolerance? I can't imagine how comfortable that is.
And it's about esteeming others more highly than ourselves. It's about showing up for people in ways that say,
what?
You are safe here.
Okay, this... second time tonight, and I forgot to circle the thing the last time, too, but still, this is just...
What? You gotta be fucking kidding.
Right?
I mean, what are you even talking about at this point? We're getting into classic DEI territory where very quickly they run out of coherent things to say, and it's just about saying stuff. Just saying stuff. And remember, and I'll take her word for it, that she is a DEI professional, that she oversees training on these subjects and everything else. I'll wager she's been doing it for at least a number of years. I don't think she said how many, but just a number of years. And even being a professional, you don't have a coherent sales pitch for what you're talking about, or how this at all relates to your family crisis. So I can only hope I get some details here. What are the inherent flaws in the DEI process that you were promoting and unknowingly doing damage to people, or at least being unproductive, that you've now realized their flaw, and what have you done to correct for those errors? What?
You are valued here.
Are you?
You matter.
Well, I think my paycheck and continued employment is really the only validation I need when it comes to a job. Anything else, I don't know what to tell you. Don't expect too much.
Here.
Uh-huh.
So the next time you're in a room making decisions, ask yourself, are we just patching up old systems?
Probably, because change is incremental and problems that are edge cases test presumptions from the past that didn't need to be tested before. I don't know.
Or are we creating spaces where everyone belongs?
Not everybody belongs. Look, if I'm not part of the executive team of my company, I don't belong there because I'm not a decision maker. I'm in the trenches. I'm doing my daily work. If I'm not in their meeting, I don't feel like, oh, I should be in there. Like, why? That's not my job. And maybe depending on the department, maybe I don't want that job. Like maybe I don't want to be in sales and marketing because those guys are cutthroat sharks. I remember when I was working at the timeshare company, I wouldn't want to go anywhere near the sales department. You want to talk about insane, narcissistic sociopaths. Whoa! I mean, nigh on full commission salespeople. There may be some good people in there. There was a couple I knew who were decent people, but the people who are drawn to that and the people that survive in that environment, yeesh, I would not want to be anywhere near there. I didn't feel excluded. I was glad not to be invited.
When we actively include people, we're not just creating a sense of belonging.
I know you're not just. You might also be lowering standards.
We're fostering stronger teams.
Are you, though? If you just, again, bring everybody in willy-nilly without any filtration, You remember that game show, The Weakest Link?
And better outcomes.
Are you, though? Didn't you just tell us that the Harvard study showed the DEI programs don't work?
Korn Ferry did research and found that diverse and inclusive teams are 87% more likely to make better decisions.
Make better decisions. Okay, how do you define diversity? How do you define better? And if that's the case, why does the Harvard study exist?
And they're 70% more likely to capture new markets.
Okay, circling deceptive statistics because this is all utter abstract nonsense. But anyway, circle in deceptive statistics.
So when we build from the ground up, everybody wins.
Do they, though? Because you just told us... Okay, well, what about your family situation? Again, if you're going to use your family situation as a metaphor for DEI practices, you've just told us that your family situation is still fractured as a result of your son's revelation. So, how is that... I'm confused.
This isn't just about families.
Oh.
It's about communities.
Oh.
And workplaces and teams.
Is it really? How?
Because when people don't feel like they belong,
I go find somewhere else to be.
they leave.
Yeah.
And when they leave, it costs us.
Does it, though? I mean, if I have nothing to offer, if I'm not interested or someone isn't interested in me in the first place, then I might as well save us both the trouble, right?
Financially.
How?
Culturally.
How?
And emotionally.
How?
So, this isn't just a moral conversation.
Are you sure about that? Because it sure sounds like one.
Either. It's a business one, too.
Oh.
The Center for American Progress.
The Center for American Oh, here we go.
Found that losing an employee can cost up to 213% of their salary.
Oh my God, losing an employee. Well, if they didn't belong, if they weren't doing their job, then what was the point of keeping them on? If they didn't want to be there, what are you supposed to do? Accommodate them so they won't leave, even if they don't want to be there? And not every employee is valuable just for being an employee. I don't know if you know that.
Internal were expensive.
Uh-huh.
So how do we move from checkbox inclusion to real belonging?
I don't know. Would you please tell us? Give me an active example of what mechanism you would impose to fix this quote-unquote problem.
Here's what I've learned.
Okay.
Think better.
How shall we change this abstraction to a more improved abstraction with an abstraction?
If your inclusion efforts are comfortable, then you're probably not digging deep enough.
Right. Make everybody as uncomfortable as possible. That's how you know you're making progress. Look, I get the I'm talking about metaphors. I get the metaphor of pain indicating change. You know, like going to the gym and your muscles are sore, right? No pain, no gain. I understand there's some truth to that, but it's also sometimes too commonly used as an indicator that something good is happening. Not necessarily so. Otherwise, everyone would love torture.
Ask those hard questions.
Ooh, like, would you say have courageous conversations? Glenn Singleton.
Look around the spaces and see who's missing and why.
Who's missing and why? And how do you solve for that problem, depending on what you mean by who's missing? I don't think you mean who's missing. I think you mean what is missing.
Do better.
Do better.
Inclusion isn't active. It isn't passive. It's active.
I'm glad you corrected yourself there. And it still makes absolutely no sense, even if you'd said it the right way around the first time.
And it's intentional.
Oh.
You need to do the work.
Like what? Do the work. What does that mean?
Tear down and dismantle the broken systems.
Like what? Okay, also, circling systemic institutional. I didn't already. Oh, I did do that. Okay, so I circled that one. Good gravy, lady. What are you talking about? Man. I missed my opportunity. The sweet spot was 2019 through 2022. If I had taken those actually 2018. If I'd taken those 4 years and just hung out a shingle calling myself a DEI consultant, I could have cleaned up with all the stuff that I absorbed like a sponge since I started my channel and that I continued to absorb going on, listening to panel discussions and everything else. God, if this is all that's needed to be a DEI professional, oh, man, I missed my calling. Anyway.
And then rebuild something new.
Like what?
Be better.
What?
People don't thrive where they don't feel safe.
People don't thrive where they don't feel safe. You ever hear the term necessity is the mother of invention? Okay.
Create systems where there is trust.
Like what?
Make room for real conversations.
Courageous conversations?
Where people feel free of rejection and retaliation.
Why? Why should everything be safe? If everything is safe, then there's no risk. If there's no risk, then there's no reason to take a risk and change something. You become complacent and boring.
Since that night, my relationship with my son has grown and been challenged in ways I never imagined.
Like what?
We've had hard, honest conversations.
I'm glad.
We've deepened our understanding of one another.
It's okay. You know, I hate to put it this way because it sounds very dismissive, but what your son told you is not that deep or complex. I know on some sort of like spiritual level, religious level, maybe it does challenge this, that, or the other, but when it comes down to brass tacks, it's not that complicated. It really isn't. You've made an absolute mountain out of a molehill, and that's your fault. But okay.
And through it all, love remains.
Does it though? Because you say it's still challenging, people in your family are still acting out or something. Okay, but yeah, love remains,
The same is true for you and the teams and organizations that you lead.
Really? The teams and organizations that I lead, I need to have such an intimate relationship with that I understand their sexual preferences on a personal level? Are you sure about that?
If you stop treating inclusion like a checkbox and start treating it like a commitment, you'll build environments where people thrive.
Like how? How? What would you do? Give me an example, even if it's just a hypothetical one. Here's Team A before we apply inclusion. Here's what Team A was doing, and this is how we changed what Team A was doing to become more inclusive. I might not still agree with you that it's necessary by the end of it, but I'd be a hell of a lot more convinced if you give me a frickin' example.
And where people thrive, organizations succeed.
Oh, do they? Wow. Do you have some statistics from McKinsey for us on that one?
So I'll leave you with this.
Okay, please do.
What messages of inclusion are you sending?
What messages on inclusion am I sending? Okay, well, I'll tell you. If you know the secret word for having watched the stream, you're included. Right? There has to be a little bit of a showing of, you have to show up. You see, on the Scribe Light channel, if you show up and you pay attention, then you're included. And even if you don't end up on the Discord server, the stream is open. Anybody can pop in, and we've seen anybody pop in before. So that's how I think of inclusion. Everybody's welcome, unless of course you decide to be a jerk, and then we have a problem. Other than that, everyone's welcome. And you know what the really cool thing about being on a stream and having a chat box is that at the end of the day, you're judged on your ideas alone. Because I'm fairly certain that in real life, most of my audience members are not cute anime figures or, pictures of dogs and things or abstracts or, slogans and logos from 20 years ago or something. Because it doesn't matter. All that matters is what you have to say, how you express yourself, and how you treat others. It is really a great equalizer in a way. Not that equalizer. And really, I like the TV show better. The old TV show, not the new TV show, not the Queen Latifah one. Like, good gravy.
Not just in what you say,
but
in how people see, hear, and experience you.
I have no control how people... Well, I guess seeing me, I do have some control over that because I don't have my web camera on. But if you mean seeing in the abstract, I don't have any control over that. And how someone interprets my words or my tone from one moment to the other, I don't have any control over that either. But, okay, and?
For over 30 years, I've been a part of or led diverse teams.
30 years! 30 years you've been part of or led diverse teams. Well, here's the thing. For over... Well, hell, I guess I can say now, for over 30 years, I have been part of or led diverse teams. You know why? Because my definition of diversity stops at names. Are you someone who is not me? You are diverse as compared to me. That's my threshold. What's yours?
For over 9 years, I've worked as a diversity consultant.
Oh, okay. So you've been a professional diversity 9 years. Okay, so the better part of a decade. All right, still admirable in that regard, I suppose.
Helping people navigate inclusion and belonging.
And you've been doing it wrong this entire time. That's what you're telling us, right?
But one text message from my son didn't just challenge me.
Yeah.
It reshaped and redefined my life's work.
How? How did it do so? You've alluded to this, you've said so, but like practically speaking, on the ground, what did you change about your behavior or how you presented things? How did you refine or redefine previous processes or policies to conform to this new information that you had? What did you do? How did it change you? Specifically, please, you've got 1 minute and 30 seconds left.
It forced me to ask the hard questions.
Like?
To rethink what inclusion really means.
Such as?
And to rebuild from the ground up.
In what way?
Now I'm asking you to do the same thing.
Do what? Do the same what?
Take a look around.
I feel like that's a song lyric that just I should be singing.
A hard look.
A hard look. Really. Okay. Like diamond hard. Like steel, tungsten maybe? Is it a tungsten stare? Ooh, that'd be a good line for a story. He gave him a stare as hard as tungsten.
Around.
Yeah.
And the spaces and the systems you're a part of.
The spaces and systems. And what am I supposed to do after I've done this survey of my reality?
Ask yourself what needs to be torn down.
What needs to be torn down? Well, how do I decide that something is in need of tearing down, like completely? Utter destruction. What? How am I supposed to arrive at that conclusion?
And what needs to be rebuilt?
What?
Then rebuild it.
Yeah, I'll snap my fingers. Riri Williams.
Reimagine what could be.
Riri Williams. Rebuild, reimagine. I wonder if that's where that came from.
Commit to building something better.
How do I know what's better if you're not going to tell me what was bad to begin with? You haven't even told us what you revised of yourself in terms of your son. and how that translates over to your practices professionally at all. 13 minutes and 47 seconds of nothing.
Something where no one ever has to wonder if they belong.
What?
Inclusion isn't just an idea or a feeling.
No, it's an entire career practice based on nothing.
It's a practice.
Yeah, oh yeah, it is a practice. Yeah, it is a faith-based system, isn't it? Because there's nothing tangible to deal with here. You just have to believe in the words without any evidence. Yeah, I know it is a practice. I'll give you that.
It's about letting people into the space and own that space as truly and authentically as they can.
It is so transparently buzzword-laden, nonsensical gobbledygook. Just, yeah, boy, oh boy, I could have made such bank.
So that they can thrive.
Yeah.
It's not about just inviting people in.
No. It's about making them belong. It's about giving them an opportunity, a reason to be there. It's about making them feel welcome.
It's about creating spaces where they were meant to belong from the start.
If they were meant to belong from the start, then you wouldn't have to create spaces to accommodate them. They would just have already earned it. You're talking about equity. You're talking about lowering standards. You're not talking about improving anything. You're talking about homogenizing things into the point where merit is unnecessary and, in fact, rejected. You're turning something that isn't a virtue and pretending that it is. That's all you're doing. And you're proving it by just saying nothing and pretending like it means something.
And when we do that, everyone wins.
Yeah, everybody gets their participation badge. It's true.
Thank you.
Okay, there we go, guys. Good gravy. Good gravy on a train. Hoy. All right, well, let's do the final round of the bingo card. Let me pull this up here. Good golly, Miss Molly. In fact, I'm just going to, let's do this. Let's take off the overlay just for clarity's sake. And let's do that. Okay, so let's go to the bingo card one more time. Let me save this over here, update this. Okay, so we are at purple, guys. We've achieved purple, not plaid quite yet, but depending on how we go. I'm going to go over the card one more time. If you have squares to be circled in purple, remember it's purple. Apologies for the colorblind out there. Let me know in a moment. Okay, marginalize, marginalization. Yes, if you're not included, if you're on the fringes, you should have the spaces and etc. and so forth. Circling that one. Okay, contradicts own point or fails to make argument. Boy, howdy. Did she ever? What we're even talking about, I don't know. Feminism? No. Microaggressions or unconscious bias? Yes. I mean, she was confessing to her own after a fashion. And also trying to carry that over into the current practices in DEI and so on. Privilege? I didn't hear anything specific, but I'm open to argumentation. Benevolent condescension. I mean, in a way, she was treating the audience like a bunch of idiots by, again, saying a bunch of things and pretending like she was saying something profound. I felt condescended to. I don't know about you. Weightless example or non sequitur. I mean, it was a very, very tenuous connection between her family story and her professional revelations, especially since she didn't define either of them in any meaningful way. So, yeah, I'm going to circle that one as well. Plays victim. Not so much. I mean, she was very self-deprecating and or self-vilifying in her whatever her reactions and behavior was at the revelation from her son. So I didn't really hear anything that was playing victim so much, but I'm open to arguments elsewise. Collectivize his own demographic. I didn't hear her talk in any strident terms about her gender or her race or her religion or something. I mean, so, not so much. Economic disparity, didn't hear anything about that. Attempt to coin new buzzword or buzz phrase. I didn't hear anything new here, but of course I'm very long invested in DEI rhetoric, so it's all kind of old hat to me at this point. A list. Technically, yes, even though she wasn't very specific. She said, have to tear down and rebuild and rethink and that kind of thing. So here's the steps you can do, etc. Sort of, yeah. Mind reading assumes motives. I'm sure there's an argument there in something she said about the company thinking or corporate whatever, but I might need some help with that one. Patriarchy, again, that might be the one square that they never hit upon in these 3 talks. I never heard anything explicitly about, the men in charge or breaking the glass ceiling or something. Anecdote that probably never happened. The only anecdote she gave us was this revelation from her son and the undefined effects it had on the family and their relationship. Nothing about that story felt false to me. I think her trying to connect it to her professional work I think that attempt fell on its face, but I don't think that the anecdote in and of itself was a lie or anything. White supremacy, nope, didn't bring anything about race. And then leaves out vital context. Boy, howdy. Like, anything about what she was talking about or how it related to anything else? Maybe. Sales pitch for product or service. I mean, if this was an attempt to advertise her services as a DEI consultant, it was a pretty bad one. So I'm not quite sure if her expressing her professional bona fides accounts for a sales pitch. But either way, did you notice what just happened a minute ago that I didn't notice? Because, of course, I didn't notice. It's another Colleen Bernier special. A bingo down in the diagonal. And so, with that...
I had a dog, and his name was...
What?
I had a dog, and his name was...
Bingo!
Of course!
So I got a bingo for this one. All right, well, that is the card as I have it right now. If you guys have squares to be circled, remember we're going for purples this time, so it's got to be a square that doesn't already have purple on it. But if you're colorblind, I will forgive you. Let's see. Scribe, non sequitur. I really don't understand why she ever even brought up her son and what that had to do with the rest of this. Like I say, she was making a very, very tenuous connection / metaphor between her self-revelation of tolerance and inclusion and her work. That was the best she was trying to do. Again, advocates privilege. Well, I at least feel privileged in that I don't have to do any of this nonsense. That's true. I too have been very lucky in my company and my work that I'm pretty sure my old employer, I mean, they had some what could have been like proto DEI type trainings and stuff, but it was all kind of basic legal liability stuff for workplace behavior and stuff like that. So yeah, it wasn't DEI. But yeah, I'm sure that company now would be all over it. And thankfully, the company that I've been with for a long time, we've never had to touch on it because it's completely irrelevant. So thanks for that. Thanks for that, fate and circumstance. Okay, advocates again. I almost got plays victim vibes from the whole my son is gay thing. I'll at least grant her credit that she didn't seem to go there. I think she was sincerely expressing a certain amount of guilt and self-disappointment. It didn't sound like she was looking for sympathy in that. I think she was trying to confess to some kind. She didn't ever tell us what exactly, but something that she either promoted or said or otherwise prior to her son's revelation that she was feeling bad about. That part at least I believed. I don't think there was anything, I didn't feel like there was anything deceptive or duplicitous there. How that related to the broader aspect of her presentation and her argument, yeah, that's separate, but I didn't feel like there was a plays victim there kind of thing. I think she was making an honest confession of what she saw as bad behavior or prejudice that she now regrets in light of her son's revelation. So I think that was all right. If somebody has an argument elsewise, let me know. Any other arguments? Let me scroll up a little bit. Kay Roberts, what constituted said work? Yeah, it all goes to leaves out vital context. She never really said, like, what does it mean? What do you have to do? What is a broken system or assumption that my new information suddenly makes clear to me that I have to change? Didn't say, didn't tell us. I got nothing. My brain is mush. Well, there you go. I think mine might be too. 3 TEDx's, 3 in-depth conversations, and a great guest along the way to help me out. And 3 hours, by the way. 3 hours for 3 TEDx's on my birthday. I think that might be about it, guys. I think my tank has run out of gas. Because I still have to work in the morning, and I have a lot of plumbing that's going to be happening. And that's not a euphemism. I actually do have, as you guys have heard about the water situations in my apartment from dramas past, more yet needs to be done. And it's going to happen tomorrow, thankfully. So yeah, I'm getting a new sink, because this sink has been the same sink that's been there for at least, I don't know, 25 years or something. There's going to be some fixes to my water heater, all types of stuff. All types. It'll be like I have a practically brand new apartment tomorrow. Well, not really, but at least in parts. Things that are far overdue for repair are going to be repaired tomorrow. Knock wood, or knock formica, crossed fingers. Anyway, everybody. Oh, wait a second. Asan, mind reading about why her son didn't tell her he was gay. That, you're right. I mean, at least in the course of the story, yeah, because he texted her, he said he didn't want to talk about it, and then she sat there rolling through her head of all the things about why. Okay, you know what? I'll get it. Yeah, that's not bad. All right, fair enough. One last one, Scribe. And JPS, just been lurking while my brain recovers from being fried from the heat. Stay cool, man. Cold shower. Take a nice cold shower. Cool your body down if you can, you know. And there are these, now I don't have it because I live in a building that doesn't have it, like actual air conditioning. It's a little pricey if you can find it. I don't know what they are now. Maybe you can get them on sale, or could have. There are these, portable air conditioning systems. You do have to put like a little thing up against the window, but I got mine for like $300 at a Walmart a couple of years ago, and it is an absolute godsend when summer hits. It only really works in one room at a time, and you can really only put it in one room at a time. But like, I turn it on for my computer room here when it gets really hot, and it's such a nice oasis. Before that, yeah, every year I was just boiling. It's terrible. But yeah, take care of yourself. Cool down. Anything else, guys? Scribe, she played victim when she did not want to speak to her right away about it. No, I still feel that that's just sort of like a self-guilt kind of thing. Because she was questioning why he wouldn't have wanted to speak to her about it. Also, like by extension, why he hadn't said anything in the past to her. I still feel like that was an expression of her own internal guilt rather than looking for sympathy. I mean, maybe... Oh, you do have AC? Okay, good. JPS, good. Glad you have AC there. No, she was hurt. Yeah, she was hurt, but I think it was fueled by self-doubt and self-questioning. Like she said, I mean, I'll extend her the benefit of the doubt of her opening gambit in that her presuppositions about her goodness were tested and shattered, broken, by being actually challenged in whether or not she believed what she preached. And so I think that sense of guilt and that sense of regret and self-doubt was genuine. I didn't feel like she was playing up a victim card the whole time. I think she was honestly trying to express something she felt bad over. So that's... I thought it was more like, why won't he talk to me about it? Well, but then like she said, she sat back and started thinking about the whys and the wherefores and the possibilities, which goes into the mind reading assumes motives from before, and also the self-vilification wretchedness of her, how she raised her kid or how she conducted her life or what she thought of herself prior to that. So, but I mean, if you have more to say about it, happy to take it on in the Discord server. Do you guys know I have a Discord server? Well, I tell you, I have a Discord server. If you're not already a member of the Discord server, you can become a member of the Discord server very quickly. All you have to do is click on that link I put in the chat just then, and you'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you just have to say the secret word. The secret word will tell me that you actually watched the stream, are not a bot, and have thus earned the right, the privilege, the entitlement to join the Discord server. And today's secret word is Bleeding Fool. Just say, hello, Bleeding Fool, and I'll know that you watched the show. Outside of that, you should be able to find me tomorrow morning at 9:05 a.m. Pacific Time, noon 05 p.m. Eastern Time for Midnight's Edge in the Morning, where I will hopefully be appearing again with Chris Brawley to talk about all the entertainment news, probably more Ironheart fallout and the appearance of Mephisto and Superman and who knows what else. That'll happen over on Midnight's Edge in the Morning tomorrow morning. And I should be doing a Saturday stream. Yes, I've changed my schedule up a bit. Saturday stream, which by suggestion from one of you out there, you know who you are, I think I'm just going to call Scribe Light Subject to Change. That's going to be the Saturday stream. Just random stuff. Might be half an hour, 45 minutes or an hour just to kibitz for a bit on a Saturday. But that'll be happening Saturday evening at a yet undetermined time when I feel like it. Just watch my X, Scribe_Light, and or follow me on the Discord. But everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you guys so much for all the birthday wishes. I very much appreciate it. I'm old. I am 3 years shy of a half century, guys. I don't feel like it. I don't look like it, if I do say so myself, but that is the reality. Here we are. Rock us like a hurricane. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved. You have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated, holy cats, your guys' generosity, I don't know what to tell you. Whether you donated to me or certainly if you donated to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, link at the top of the chat box. Thank you guys so very, very much for your generosity. Very much appreciated. I'll be doing my best to pay it forward very soon. Everyone, have a good rest of your Thursday evening. Hope you have a good Friday ahead of you and weekend as well. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.